Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is June 30th. What a weekend, eh? We made it. The 2025 draft season is officially done. First of all, I do want to say thank you so much to everybody who participated in any way with all of the fun stuff that we did, or at least the fun things that, in my opinion, were pretty fun. All the fun things that we did over the last week or so. It was a lot of fun. We played a lot of games together. We had some fun. We had some laughs. We saw some crazy stuff over the weekend together, and we had a contest, and all the contest winners have been contacted. If you haven't, definitely, if you haven't heard from me, whether you won or not, definitely reach out. I don't want you to miss out on your prizes, but we had a lot more winners in that contest than I expected, but that's totally cool. I had a feeling that we might run into some things. Next year, we're going to be making it bigger and better because I think it was a really big success, and we've had a lot of fun with that. So thank you again to everybody who participated, watched the reports, watched whatever. We got more coming as well. We obviously are doing this, but tomorrow we're going to do a free agent frenzy show tomorrow at 11 a.m. We're going to be doing that for a few hours, but again, it'll be a little more casual, a little more laid back. And then the project really starts of catching up on all the players that I just have never seen or heard of before. And then we'll get into the recaps over the next few weeks and shoot the pipeline reviews as well. So again, thank you so much for all of your attention and all the fun we've had over the last little while. This is what gives me life. And it definitely learned a lot going into the show for next year, assuming there will be one. If I'm still around, we'll be doing another show next year. Learned a lot. Definitely figured some stuff out in terms of how to make it better for next year, especially with more people than just me. So, but I don't know. I thought Friday night was a ton of fun with a big cast of real characters. I'll tell you that much. And Saturday was a bit of a grind, but we got there and all the way through pick 224. Yegor Midlak himself, we made it, and so thank you again very much for all of your attention. There's still some stuff coming on the channel. We're not done just yet, but it's 2026 draft time. So who wants to see some rankings for 2026? All right, is that where we're at? Is that what we're doing now? No. I mean, what I'm going to do also is for the free agent show, I'm building out some data tools that if there's interest, well, I don't know if there's, I'm making this up on the fly, but I'll put up the documents because it's more NHL focused. I'll put it up for subscribers just to follow along. I'm going to build out a bit of a data dashboard for the NHL itself. And so people can sort of play around with, some stuff here and there about the NHL and some of the data that's going on in there. I want to try to focus on that a little bit more. So you'll see the early bits of that tomorrow morning when we do the free agent frenzy show. So what we're gonna do tonight is pretty straightforward. We're gonna just sit, have a chat about the draft. I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to chat. We're here to hang out. And I mean, above all, the better half and I have been slowly working our way through Squid Game season 2.5, whatever you want to call it. So that's a bit of an emotional roller coaster, and we're hanging in there, but it is pretty nutty. Also, Rayanne, I saw that you insulted me in the chat here. First of all, thank you so much for your support. It really means the world to me. Also, I totally forgot that you made a thumbnail for the show tonight. I got way too distracted watching depressing television programs, but I'm going to update it right now on camera because that's how much I like you most of the time. Unless you're insulting me, that's not so fun. But no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You're the best. Yeah, shout out, by the way, Rayanne and AJ. Rayanne's been doing an incredible amount of hard work for me over the course of this year, especially in the last little while since AJ got his job. He has been just a gem, just a gem editing a lot of the Scouching videos. I think he came a long way. with how the quality of those videos, I think, over the course of this season. And yeah, I mean, again, track him down on social media. Ryan, put your handles in the chat if you want people. He's doing some cool edits of some hockey stuff, of hockey teams and players. Yeah, so definitely shout out to Ryan for all the hard work. He's been doing amazing work with the thumbnails. I think the channel has really gotten a lot better since getting him more and more involved. So just wanted to shine a bit of a spotlight on the people that make this go and sacrifice a lot to do it. Especially, you know, I mean, I'm not a believer in not paying somebody, but this is not the level of enterprise where, you know, these guys are making a living doing this. So I really appreciate all of the effort that they do every day. You know, it's really amazing to see people, you know, want to support what I'm doing here and what we're doing here together. So yeah, I'm here to answer questions. The draft was obviously crazy. I've been talking to some NHL people over the weekend and having some chats and you know, the barriers come down a little bit on some people, so that's been very interesting and very fun to check out. And I can already see and smell the fans turning on me when things go a way that I wouldn't go for their teams. But you know, it's all fun and games, right? I'm just one guy here doing my thing. We'll get to questions also in a second. I just kind of want to let a little bit of a backlog get in and people can file in. But I also did find it funny. I had a tweet that got a little traction today. I try not to just tweet for commentary purposes. I try not to do that anymore because Twitter's a hellscape. But I couldn't help myself with Don Waddell saying that their first 3 picks over the weekend were all in his top 14 overall, which would include Pyotr Andreanov, who they got at 20. A bit of a shock there. But, I mean, I guess I can understand it. And Malte Voss at 74. Now, I will say that there might be some context there where maybe Columbus doesn't think that there are certain players that are going to be available for them, so they don't rank them at all. Especially, you know, Malte Voss at 74. Like, if you think there's going to be a whole bunch of guys off your list that you're just never going to get a chance at between 20 and 70, then maybe there's a whole bunch of them that you're just like, meh, you know, we can focus on other guys, you know, if we really want Andrianov. But that to me is like, again, I've said it a bunch of times, why NHL draft lists would make your head spin. It would make you go nuts because there's so much that goes into them that is not the consensus. Like, the consensus doesn't exist. That's why I find it kind of funny. Like, you know, and why I try to talk about, like, I'm totally cool with other evaluators and everything as long as I can sort of see the logic behind their overall strategy and like what they want and what they are looking for in a player and how they would construct a team and everything. Because that's the angle that I take, right? Like, if I was running the show, these are the players that I think I would value that would fit that scheme and all of that stuff. And I'm sure NHL teams feel the same way. So in doing so, they end up with like whack lists that are all over the place and completely, you know, I was told that a player that went in the first round was ranked behind a player that went in the 7th round. You know, that's how crazy this can get, right? So it is interesting to see, you know, how this is all shaken out at the end of the day. Also, yeah, I mean, on that note, someone mentioned, this is Bob McKenzie's draft board where he compiles multiple draft boards into one as BS. But no, I don't think so. But when you read through the article that he posts, people do have some hot takes in there, right? I think the bigger point I'm trying to make is not necessarily like the first 6 or 10 players that are available. I think broadly the consensus generally agrees on like the top 15-ish players that are out there. Like, clearly there's a pack of players that have like separated themselves from the rest. In my opinion, there might be a couple more floating around that also deserve to be part of that group that aren't getting the attention they deserve. There might be a couple that probably I wouldn't put in that group, but that's fine. So, you know, I think more likely also, I feel like scouts also don't want to like tip their hand too much, so they might massage things a little bit. But I do feel like that there is a general like consensus, if you have like 10 different scouts from a bunch of different teams, like there will be a broad sort of understanding here. But on an individualized team basis, like who are we going to draft, it could be very, very different. It is radically different. It is really, really different. So that's always been really, really fascinating to track over the years and hear more and more about and see. And it gives me a lot of confidence to then go out and do my own thing. And I was talking to someone over the weekend, right? It's like, I'm not going to kid anybody. You know, I haven't seen all these guys. I haven't seen even 150 of them to the extent where I'm super comfortable giving a concrete read, and like that's okay to me. Like, I definitely have a pack that I focus on a lot more and that I'm more interested in. And so that might, you know, focus me maybe in the wrong directions in some areas. But if I had 4 copies of me or 5 copies of me, there would definitely be a lot more, you know, a lot more to go off of and a bigger sample, and maybe, you know, look a little bit deeper on some guys that maybe I misread a little bit. But anyway, it's really, really fun every year to do this and talk to people. But yes, I mean, it is just really, really hard as one person to feel like, even at draft day, like I know exactly, I've nailed it with all of this. Like, a lot of players I think I have a really good read on, especially the sort of consensus guys. But the guys that I've also really focused on later on, I also feel pretty good about. But there are also definitely guys, like Tyler Hopkins is a really good example. I can't give you a ton on him because I just haven't, he never really moved the needle enough for me this year when I saw him. So other guys got more focus. And so, you know, if he turns out to be amazing, then that's amazing. But, you know, there's just a bit of pitfalls with that. But in doing so, my list ends up looking quite wild. But anyway, let's get into some questions. I think that's been enough time of me ranting and raving and like a lunatic down here. This is my summer vacation mode. It's starting, right? I'm not quite there yet, but we're getting there, you know, one step at a time. The most important question. Well, I'm glad we're starting with that one first, and Brian. By the way, got the Islanders jersey on tonight. You know, because they had a fun weekend, really fun weekend. That's all. I just figured I'd rep the Islanders. You know, it's also like a weird temperature down here. Slightly too cool to just be in a t-shirt and shorts, but like slightly too warm to like wear a sweater. So I figured this was a middle ground. The most important question of the day is why, with all the most valuable contracts signed already, and why is it Kevin Ball being, what are the most valuable contracts signed already, and why is it Kevin Ball being extended for 6 years at 5.35? I didn't know he signed, frankly. I didn't know he signed an extension. That's really good news, and Brian. I'm really glad you told me that. What are your thoughts on the Panthers re-signing both Ekblad and Marchand? I don't mind the Ekblad one. I mean, Ekblad is a perfectly serviceable guy, and it's a pretty decent cap number if I am not mistaken. Let me double check that. What did he sign for? Yeah, like 8 times 6.1. Like, it'll hurt at the end. Like the Florida Panthers are kind of doing a little bit of what the Sharks did, but the Sharks didn't win 2 Stanley Cups. You know, where it's like you have your guys and you keep them, and you know that at the end of it, it's gonna suck. Like having those guys at that age, that late, it could suck. There's always LTIR. Maybe these. I don't want to hope that players get injured. You know, but that's a crutch that teams might have. Florida might have in the future. But for Ekblad at $6.1 million, it keeps the cap number down. You have a little bit of flexibility. I like it. Marchand, I would be very curious how many 6-year deals have been handed out to 37-year-olds. But I mean, could he have gotten that deal on the open market after the playoff he just had? I would bet that he could. You know, it's Brad Marchand, right? Like, he's an enigma. He's kind of his own thing. Do I think he's the type of player who's going to play when he's 42? I mean, I think he thinks he's the type of player to play until he's 42. We'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, he wants to be. I mean, they found something that works there, right? The thing about the Panthers and the thing about sports in general is if you have found a mix to really, if you've found a mix that works, which the Florida Panthers clearly have, it's a balance point. You got to be really careful. And so for me, I think that if you think you still have gas in the tank to take another run at this, and then after that, maybe another run at this with the guys that you have, make it happen. Because to me, like, again, I'm the guy who's like the draft guy, but if I were running an NHL team and I had 2 rings on my hand, I wouldn't voluntarily create a situation where I probably won't have 3 on my hand or 4. So if I know that Ekblad and Marchand, or I really feel like those guys are the part of the core, you know, Bennett, that really have helped drive that team to where they are, short-term gain, long-term pain to try to fill out that hand with rings. Whether or not I get there, I can see the logic behind it totally. So it's not, you're not worried about years 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with these guys, right? It's about the next few and whatever it takes to keep them at a manageable number. I missed the draft live stream. What are your guys' opinions on the Sharks taking Ravensbergen? Thanks for everything as always. It's interesting. I mean, look, I don't. It's kind of the same thing as like the Sharks and why a Schaefer. People were telling me like, oh, Schaefer might not be a necessary thing for the Sharks if they have first. This was before the lottery, so it's like maybe the Sharks won't take Schaefer because they have Sam Dickinson. It's like, well, that's not a good way to think about it because nothing is guaranteed. You know, you have the opportunity to have not only 2 really good defensive prospects, but if one doesn't quite hit what you want, you have another one waiting to maybe also to maybe get there, right? And I mean, I like Sam Dickinson a lot, but in the case of like Askarov, I mean, he's not guaranteed. He's been very good, and I imagine we'll see a lot more of him this year. But now you have 2. Right? Now you have 2 interesting ones, and I think San Jose also has some other goalies floating around. Let me double check that they are guys that might be, yeah, like, okay, maybe not. But, I mean, some of these guys have good numbers, Christian Kirsch and Yaroslav Korostolyov, but Askarov and Ravensbergen, I mean, I mean, I wasn't the hugest fan of Ravensbergen, and I probably would have gone a different direction. But if you think he's the best goalie out there that's left, I mean, Andreanov was already gone, then why not? You know, take the bet. San Jose also has had the advantage of having like 10, 11, 12 draft picks a year for, what, 3 seasons? 4 maybe? And so you have a lot in the tank. Like I'm looking at I've updated the drafted prospect tracker for any partner level subscribers watching, and San Jose still has the second most prospects on their list out of anybody in the league outside of Montreal. I haven't like gone through it with a fine-toothed comb, so it might be slightly different, but for San Jose, like they're doing just fine. And so whether they took Ravensbergen or someone else, like just add it to the pile. It's like, okay, but now you have another goalie option, right? And you have so many other draft picks that you can just find something that works. So for me, I don't really think too much about it. Do I think there were players that could end up, you know, good that were there? Sure. But, you know, a really good goalie can really make all the difference. And if you think that Ravensbergen and Askarov together are going to be a really, really good pair, then great. So be it. Thank you so much for the super chat here. Thoughts on the Penguins draft? I liked Ben Kindle. Well, I mean, I look, Pittsburgh Penguins fans. I know there's some of you that are in here. I imagine over the course of this season there will be a lot more of you because I figured that they're one of the teams that's really ripping themselves apart. You know, look, I get used to this. You know. Get used to this. Get used to Kyle Dubas and Wes Clark being different from everybody because they are, right? And I think it's a good thing. Look, I had Ben Kindle as high as like 8 or 9 on my list this year, and I don't regret it. I in retrospect, I kind of regret having him as low as I did, but I still see the risk in him. There's risk, but it's not because he's not good, right? Like. The next pick being Jack Nesbitt is very fascinating to me because Nesbitt is not there yet, but I guess in the future he could be. Kindle, so much is already there, but what isn't is a pretty big hurdle to overcome, right? It will be, at least, if it isn't already for him, which is like the physicality of the game, you know, and the pace of his game, right? Like he is first and foremost a pass first guy. He is a remarkable passer and a remarkable playmaker, really smart player all around. You know when he is on the ice that he knows how to play hockey really well. And it's not just because he's faster, more skilled, bigger, more physical than everybody else. He just knows how to pick you apart. And that's very, very valuable to me. I really, really liked the idea of Kindle there. Was he my best player available at that point? No. I think it would have been Ekblad, right? But Kindle, like, I wouldn't have done it that soon. But I know there were teams out there with him in that range. Like, I would not have been surprised if he went a little bit, the next couple of picks. I would not have been surprised. Because he's that talented. Like, there's so much there. He's played center almost all year. I thought he played his best hockey playing center. And yeah, this is just how it's going to be. I thought Pittsburgh had a really good weekend, though, overall. I thought a lot of their picks were pretty good. I ran through it today of who it would have been if I took my best players available. And it is a little bit different, but there were some definitely that were the same. And so for me, yeah, I mean, like, I've had it in the past too, where it's like me and Kyle Dubas are kind of like intertwined a little bit with how we see the game and everything, which kind of makes sense. But yeah, I'm not against it at all. And I know Penguins fans are a little bit confused and annoyed about it, but like, trust me, Kindle's a phenomenal player, and with the right group of guys around him, you'll probably not regret it. It might take some time, but he's really good. Outside of, I guess you asked about the whole draft. So let me just get there 1 second. Pittsburgh, who did they take? I don't even remember, honestly. Everything's such a blur. Pittsburgh Penguins. Let's toggle over to this. Oh, that's a tweet of that I saw to follow up on the Florida Panthers contracts, and I just loved it so much I left it up, but I forgot that this was screen sharing. So let's close that. So Kindle, Zanon, I love that those are two guys in my top 20 that they got in the first 22 picks of the draft. I wouldn't have done Will Horkoff at all, I don't think there. Like, I don't mind Horkoff, but I think he has a pretty low ceiling, but I get it. Those three guys playing center on the same team, or Zanon being a winger or whatever, it's going to be all right. It's going to be fine. Peyton Kettles, again, this was just how it goes, right? I wouldn't have taken him top 40, but again, pretty big but good skater and pretty physically underdeveloped and really, really young. Very similar things about Treadaway. Like, these are all guys I had ranked, and Charlie Treadaway being the fifth guy I take, it's not the end of the world, I don't think. I would have done things a little differently, but it's not the end of the world. Gabriel Daigle, I think, was a little underrated this year. I know he did not have a very good season in terms of numbers, but his workload was ridiculous this year. If you look at the deeper numbers, like, he faced just a terrible team in front of him. Brady Peddle, I like him. He's decently mobile, pretty good skater for a big guy. One of dozens of players in this year's draft who were big and pretty decent skaters, and maybe they turn into something. Travis Hayes, I like Travis Hayes. I didn't think he was like an NHL upside type player, but he is a rambunctious, speedy, aggressive sort of guy. Maybe there's something there. I do need to go back and watch a little more of him. Ryan Miller, I like. He's a watch list guy for me, but I liked him a lot. Just again, really tenacious, kind of similar to Hayes a little bit, but a little bit maybe more northbound focus, like just gets up the ice and annoys people and attacks. Beauchene, I loved at that pick, whatever pick it was, 140 something. Yeah, 148th. Beauchene, I had ranked in the top 50. I think he develops super, super well over time, especially if Guelph gets better. Jordan Charron, really skilled player. I've seen him here and there. Like, he's just very, very skilled, and we'll see what happens with him. Carter Sanderson was a very interesting one. I flirted with the idea of Sanderson being ranked over on my list, but he was like a fourth line USHL player this year, but I don't know. I flagged him as a glitter guy watching him play when I was watching guys like Riyabkin or Nestrasil. and I just remember Sanderson as a center just being so fast and gets up and down the ice really, really well. And, the puck control and the vision and the hockey sense is all kind of mixed, but there's a fundamental talent there that I really, really liked. Cale Dock, I honestly did not see enough of that really moved the needle for me to have him on my list. But, I mean, Carter Sanderson, he was on my watch list for a little bit of time this year. He never made a list, but I've seen him a few times, and I like him. But thank you for the donation. Super great. Okay, where are we here? Is Ben Kindle the next Matt Barzal? No. But Kindle, dude, he is... There's some special stuff that he can do. Don't worry. Is Zanon the next Bennett? I don't think so. I see Bill Zanon as more, I don't know, Will Carrier style. Really, really aggressive up and down the ice type guy. He can play center if you need him to, but 30 points a season, good for 30 points a season, but you'll want him on your team, and he'll be good you want a playoff guy. Bill Zonon's your playoff guy. That's why I had him so high. Squilliam, that's me actually. Thoughts on the Canucks picks? Yeah, Canucks, where are you? Vancouver. Nope, that's Vegas. Vegas had a nice day today. There you go. All right. So what do we got here? Yeah, so Braden Coots at 18. Shout out to the participants of the first round guessing challenge thing we did, the contest, because 25 of you got Braden Coots at 18 correct. That was the highest number outside the top 10 by quite a margin, so kudos to all those people. I was not one of them. I like Coots. Again, probably not... He wasn't my best player available there, but he is a really, really talented guy. I think he could be a good sort of third line. Reminds me a lot of Chandler Stevenson, that type of player. Alexei Medvedev as a goalie, I mean, that was a bit of a surprise, seeing him be the first goalie on day 2, I believe, taken, or was Frolov? I don't know. But Medvedev going ahead of guys like Ivan Kovic was a bit of a surprise. But Medvedev did have really, really good deeper numbers in the data that I have. He's not bad. He's also extremely young, and I think that's also part of the draw. I like Kieran Dervin. I saw him late in the year. I didn't see enough to get a really good read on him, but I thought that the skill level and the pace of play and the energy in his game for a tall, thin kid, I thought was an interesting bet to make, and I feel like he might hit, pretty decently well over time. Wilson Bjork, whatever. I'm not over the moon with Bjork. He was good this year, but I mean, I think it was sort of a bit of a magic sort of group there with Djurgården, and Wilson Bjork was solid, but I don't know. Worth a bet, I suppose. And I mean, Gabe Sherrod is one I've never really seen before, so I'll skip him. But Matthew Lansing, I love. Matthew Lansing at 207, if his name came up, I wouldn't have said no at all. If he interviewed really, really well, which I think he would, just judging by how he plays, I think Lansing is a really intriguing player. He's one of these guys where I'm I don't know why he's not scoring more, but I like him. He does pretty much everything right. He's maybe not the best transition playmaker, right? Moving the puck up the ice, but boy, can he ever get ahead of steam going, and boy, can he ever be a strong kid on his feet, and he's got some weight to gain, and really just plays for everyone else he plays with. He's a guy who definitely, I think, elevates the guys he plays with, even if he's not the most impactful guy on his own, but he'll support you through hell or high water and just grind through pressure and do all the things you really need guys to do. I really, really liked Matthew Lansing. He was on my watch list this season, but a really good player who I think could be at least a good sort of college physical center, and who knows from there. I could see a long, solid, good trajectory, especially for a 7th round pick. It's easy. Thank you for the donation, Austin. This is for the Sharks actually selecting Misa. Yeah, I mean, hey, look, again, every single year, you can't fall for it. There's always crazy stuff that goes on around the draft, Everybody starts getting all nutty. This person's going to get traded. This person's going to get traded. This team's thinking about this guy drafting this guy. Teams are thinking about swapping picks here. And none of it ever happens. Very rarely does it ever happen. And the stuff that does happen, it's kind of out of left field. Dobson is an exception, but yeah. This is why around draft season, I change all of my Discord emojis or my Discord profile avatars that are Scouching related into Bobby Hill meditating, because it's like, you just got to hold fast. You got to hold strong. I've done the work. People can talk. Just got to let them talk. Whatever happens, happens, and hang on for dear life, But thank you for the donation. But good for the Sharks. Misa's a crazy good pickup. Zeev Bouillon or Matthew Schaefer? I go Schaefer. How many drafts in the past do you have to go to find a prospect that was actually drafted by an NHL team that is worse than Matthew Hlakar? Yeah, honestly, like after the draft was over, I got a text from someone that was like, Matthew Hlakar, whatever, could probably skate circles around me, so whatever. But this is just a message I got from somebody. And it said, if Matthew Hlakar can get drafted, either people genuinely don't know what they're doing, or anything is possible. Follow your dreams, right? Like, again, I didn't say that. Someone else did. And there was a lot of that this year, right? I mean, I forget who drafted. There was a kid who played like 22 games this year, had a goal, and that's it. But he's 6'4". Like, that this year, I haven't done the math on it, but it felt particularly height crazy. Not a single defenseman under 6 feet tall got drafted, even though 3-4 defensemen on the Florida Panthers are 6 feet tall. And I mean, I will also mention, like, in terms of defensemen who are under 6 feet tall that I would have drafted this year, there's probably only one, really, which is Thomas Galvis. But I mean, that guy's going to need to grind his way to the NHL over the next decade, I think, at this rate. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Kieran Rushinsky, but that one is a little different because he was drafted in memoriam of a scout who had passed away. So I'm not going to be annoyed at that. And it was like a 7th round pick. Like, some in retrospect are really bad, like the Griffin Reinhart at 4th overall. That one, that might be pound for pound one of the worst draft picks ever, but whatever. Anyway, how do you feel overall about the Devils draft? I'm bummed they didn't grab Schmidt. Yeah, I think the Devils did pretty well, honestly. Like, I haven't really looked through team by teams yet. Yeah, I think they did well. Wait, I thought the Devils drafted Drott as well. Did I mess that up? Oh, the Florida Panthers did. Okay. I thought they got Drott as well. Okay, I'm wrong. Yeah, so one sec. Here we go. Fondrick is an interesting one. 50th overall for Conrad Fondrick. Fondrick ended up on my watch list, but there was a time where he was like in my 30s earlier in the year. Just an unbelievable amount of skill and explosiveness, but it just came and went. Like, he just played like a guy who was better than a lot of the guys on the ice, but just didn't have that, like, that death blow instinct, right? Like, that every shift, I'm going to go out there and attack guys, get the puck, but the raw talent there is so good. He did spend a large portion of this season injured, but I mean, if you believe in the upside, like, he probably, in terms of skill level and like wow factor, probably is one of the 32 best players out there, right? Like, I could see it. Keevan, I know Keevan is a guy who some people don't like. At 63, I thought it was okay. Keevan's a guy who is definitely a high pace, high energy guy. Really, really fun player to watch a lot of the time, but not a very sort of like, I don't mean to say this as if he's like selfish and like a jerk, but he is a player who plays very sort of individual hockey, right? Like, his skating ability, his puck carrying, his playmaking, it's pretty good, but in the off the puck, like, and distributing the puck in the offensive zone, like, it's just not as common and successful as you might want. Defensively too, but there's a lot of talent there. There's some good skill. Mason Moe, I like Mason Moe. I saw him plenty watching Riker Lee. He's had some really good moments. I had a feeling he might be a guy a team jumps to get. He always just felt like a guy who I just saw as a good college player, and from there, who knows? So he wasn't on my list, but he was on my list for bits and pieces of this season. But at the end of the year, when I went through it, I just kind of came to the conclusion like there probably isn't a point where I'm going to actually draft him. So whatever, but I understand why. I mean, Hillstrom at 114. Bennett, I can't really speak to as a goaltender. I don't know why the coloring is all off. I'll have to fix that. But Gustav Hillstrom, I had in my first round. I love Hillstrom. One of the smartest players in the draft, in my opinion. One of the most intriguing players out there. I don't think he's going to be a top 6 guy really at all, but I think he could be a fantastic supportive third line guy. He's got some skill. He's energetic. He's got pace in his game. He is just such a smart reader of play, especially off the puck, that this, like, all I would really want with him is like just play with the puck more, like take your time, try to push your envelope a little bit more, but keep it relatively simple, but like, be more confident with the puck, be more assertive, ask for it, play with it. Right. And I think Hillstrom could benefit a lot from that. But at the end of the day, a really, really good pick there for me. Like, I love him. He's a team scouting guy now. I love him. David Roosevelt, also a pretty good pick. Again, a guy who was on my list for bits and pieces of this year. I liked him internationally here and there. But similar to Mason Moe, right? Like, he's not a bad player. And at that range of the draft, like, sure, whatever. But a guy I feel like could become a good sort of check league guy. And then from there, we'll see what happens. And Siggy Holmgren is not a goaltender. I'm not sure why that says that. Basically, what I'm saying is my life is a disaster at the moment here. I mean, Siggy Holmgren did not play this year, so I haven't really got anything to say on him. But I'll check him out from 2023-4 and see what there is there. But yeah, I mean, overall, pretty good. Pretty good. No defenseman. Which, whatever, take your best players, right? And I didn't think this defense class this year was amazing anyway, so. Another super chat, thank you very much. If Schaefer was in the 2026 draft, does he go 2 ahead of Verhoff? I would say he goes very high. I like him a lot more than what I've seen of Verhoff this year. So to me, he would, I don't know, top 3, I would say, probably. But thank you. Really great. Thank you for the donation. How do you most important topic of the draft? We're never doing that format again. Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy to me. When was the last time any human being really went to any event that was 4.5 hours long, and like it was a good event for 4.5 hours? Oppenheimer wasn't even that long. Like, Barbenheimer, maybe? But, like, one of those things had nuclear weapons in it, right? Like, one of those things had Cillian Murphy in it. The other thing had Ryan Gosling and just an all-star cast of characters. Both movies did, actually. Like tons of, like, the number... That's, like, at least it holds your attention and is constantly engaging. Margot Robbie doing her thing, being amazing, all those people. But this was the NHL draft, and that was tough. That was tough. It didn't take very long for the 3 of us at the table, or all of us, I should say, to go, oh, this is one of these things. It's gonna drag. It was rough. And yeah, I know they're not gonna. I know they're not gonna do it again. Like, I'm pretty sure they're gonna not do it again. It's gonna look. If it were me, I'd book out Sphere in Vegas every last weekend of June for the next 10 years. I'd sign a deal with Sphere and say, what will it take for 10 years, the same last weekend of June, and that's going to be the thing we do. Because that was, I swear to God, if you weren't there, you should go. The NHL owes it to you, the fans, to do that again so that you can go, because it was unlike anything I've ever seen before. Like, it was like when I was in high school and I listened to Tool for the first time, and I was like, what is happening to my brain right now? Like, it is beyond, like, videos don't do it justice. Like, it was beyond insane. And so I am all for that, but I mean, I just hope they go back to the old format, and I'm pretty sure they will. But we'll see. Just because you said it, from what you've seen so far, how's the 2026 draft looking? Oh, geez. I mean, I have my tracker built for next year. I did that a few months ago. Subscribers don't have it yet because it is ugly, and it is not done yet. But I like. This is the cardinal sin of an evaluator, but I like next year. I think it will be intriguing. The guys that I have seen that I've really liked so far, that aren't like McKenna and Stenberg and Mathis Preston, I love, but like those guys everybody talks about. Like Xavier Villeneuve, I will probably start the season with him quite high. I love Xavier Villeneuve to death. And I think his performance at the under 18 kind of showcased to more people why that is. But beyond that, I mean, I'm curious about a lot of guys that are in some interesting positions, right? Mykola Kosarev is a Ukrainian kid playing in Norway who I really liked playing when he played with the Norwegian pro level this year. Simas Ignatavicius is a Lithuanian who's playing in Switzerland, but I've seen him many times this season, and I've really liked him. I mean, other guys I've seen and liked, like Jonas Lagerberg-Hohen, one of my favorite stat lines from this year, 38 games played. He had 27 goals and 3 assists in Sweden in the junior level. Pierce Bouilly, I know Jordan loves him, and I do too. Pierce Bouilly is a fantastic player. Almost hit 30 goals this year with Owen Sound, and definitely no joke. He's a good player. Jack Hextall as well, I've really liked. There's some Russian defensemen that I've kind of liked. Sherbakov. Who's the kid? Oh, that is him. Sherbakov. There's one with, what is it? I don't know. There's guys all over the place that I've kind of liked. Vladimir Drevechky. Tobias Tomik is another one that I've liked. Arseny Ilyin. There's tons. There's a lot of guys next year that I've really enjoyed watching to this point. But I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break of watching guys I have to catch up on this year's draft class that I missed out on, and then we'll get into it eventually. Will for Prime Minister, yeah. If Lakovich is going to hit his ceiling, what signs do you think we'll see in terms of play style and skills? Just more energy. Like, he just needs to be more energetic. Coaches will trust him a lot more when that happens. I know that was the big hang-up. His coaches looked at him and was like, are we going to get enough physical jam out of you so that when the skill and the open ice puck control doesn't work for you, you still have something to bring to the game? Like, that's the really big concern, and I understand that. But I love Lakovich so much, and I think that, he's not stupid. He is the type of person who I think is going to work through it and figure it out and grow into pretty darn good player, especially for where Washington got him. I'm blown away that Toronto drafted Koblar and Nancy, even if it was a bit earlier than I would have thought, but I'm happy 2 players I like are being given a chance. Thoughts on those picks? Dude, when Tinu's Koblar, the highlight video is going to drop tomorrow before the free agent thing. I put together a highlight video from the streams this weekend. And the Koblar thing was hilarious. Like, I could not believe my eyeballs when the Toronto Maple Leafs made him their first pick at 64th. Like, I mean, I like Michael Spurchek a tremendous amount more than Koblar, but at his peak, Koblar could be a heck of a player. Like, if he hits, that's going to be a steal. Like, I love Tinus Luke Koblar so much. I think there's so much potential. He's not there yet, don't get me wrong. Neither is Nancy, neither is Bell. But they drafted guys who are on a good road. Like, if things go right, those 3 in particular, could be really impressive players. And I think even the most uncle-coded Toronto Maple Leafs fan can look at those players and go, I like those guys. which is a success in Toronto, and I think they will actually also be good players as well. Like, I'll say this about Harry Nancy. In the same game, I saw him out forecheck and get behind Keishon Aitchison 3 times in one game. He is one of the best playmakers for shot attempts from others on the ice out of anybody relative to how much output there was for the team. He is a guy who I just think doesn't even realize how good he could be at the moment. Like, it's not there yet, but I think it could be. Will Bell as well is another one that I've loved this year. I probably, like, Bell is so fun to watch when he's really on. And if he can, again, it's like, I've said this many times over the year about him, but it's like, I'd want to get in his ear and be like, dude, you are a monster. Like, go out there and be a monster. Like again, it's similar to Lakovich, like a little bit more. Give me more. I know if you can, let's work towards that. Like, I know you can. There's something there because when it's there, it's really, really good. And I think that those guys bring a lot of that. Do you think with the context of their lackluster prospect pool at center position that their first round was a lot more underrated? Who's they? Oh, Penguins. Well, Zanon played center all year. Ben Kindle played his best hockey playing center. Will Horov probably could be a center. They'll be okay. Again, just because a player is listed at a position does not mean they don't play a different position. Colin Potter, listed as a winger, played center all year. I don't know why they haven't updated that, but those are the positions those guys played, right? Like, so you did get 2 centers. You got maybe 3, right? So, yeah, it's okay. Which 7th round pick do you think is the most interesting? Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Drott. But most interesting, I mean, I adore that Richard Gallant got drafted. Like, so many teams were just aiming at who's big. Just, I did the math. If you played in the CHL, USHL, or the Swedish Junior League this year, and you were above 6'3", and you were or 6'3" and above, and you were eligible for the NHL draft for the first time, 42% of those players got drafted. 42% of that cohort got picked, right? Now, some of them were totally legit, right? Like, some of the bigger guys that are 6'3" and up definitely deserved to be picked, because if you look, there's a lot of pretty good ones. But I looked at the number below 5'11", and in the same leagues, that number was 13%. So you were about 3 times more likely, more than 3 times more likely, actually, to be picked if you were a 6'3" and above, no matter what, than 5'11" and below, no matter what. So that's pretty wild. But Gallant is 5'8". Like, I don't know. I think Gallant is a real long shot, but my God, he could be a ton of fun. He is a wild adventure, and he can score, man. Like, he can go. And he had a really good under 18, I felt, and that is a bet that if he really interviewed well and a couple of other people on the team were like, you know what? Let's give him a shot, right? Like, I took Leo Sundqvist in the 7th round with the team scouting pick, but Richard Gallant is honestly like a bit similar. So whatever, right? And if you like Gallant more, then take Gallant. But otherwise, who else went? I mean, Philip Ekberg going that late. I mean, I'm a little surprised it was that late, but that's just good value. I'm curious about Graydon Robertson-Palmer that Detroit took. I caught him a couple of times this year, and I kind of liked him. Really young too, but like a nice long-term bet maybe. Who else went? I mean, that's kind of it for the 7th round of all those guys. Yeah. Also, shout out. It's shout out time. You know why? Because Ludwig Johnson got drafted. Utah Hockey Club. They might draft a lot of big boys, but they also drafted Ludwig Johnson. That one felt good for me. That one felt good. Thoughts on Yenborg and Spurchek for Detroit? Great. You know, I like Yenborg. Where did they pick him? I don't even remember. 44. I definitely would have liked Nielsen there for sure. I love Eric Nielsen, and he went one pick later. I just think he brings so much more to the game than Yenborg, but Yenborg is more physically developed. He's more physical. I mean, I would say he's more physical, but he's like a 9 out of 10 physical, and Nielsen's more of a 7. But Yenborg, he's a projectable player. I could see Yenborg being a third line power winger, keeping his game super simple and just go like he's an interesting player. I don't mind Yenborg at all. Spurchek, I mean, my thoughts on Spurchek are well known. I adore him. I think the world of Michael Spurchek. I think he's a guy, he's one of the rare players where, like, the last one I remember that was kind of like him was Fabian Lysell, where it's like, you're up here all the time. Like, you're skating your heart out, you're going nuts, like, all the time up here. And sometimes, like, the reason that you're being a little limited at the highest levels of hockey is because you can't just do that and score at the highest levels. You gotta learn to bring her down a notch, you know, simmer down a little, push and pull things a little bit. And Spurchek, with the puck on his stick especially, could do with just, you know, settle down a little bit. Like, he plays like there's a giant wrecking ball chasing after him like Indiana Jones, right? Like, that's how he plays all the time, which is fine, especially if you don't have the puck. But when you do have it, you know, learn that a little bit more because the fundamentals are there. I love him so much. I think he could be really, really good in the future. I every time I saw him this year, I was really impressed, which is why he was so high on my list. How much luck and hard work will it take for James Haggins to be the next Cody Glass? Oh boy. How and why did Beauchene fall to round 5? Because he's not. I mean, because look, my thoughts on Quinn Beauchene. I mean, I was a bit on an island on him. It seems like the public world did not have him very high. Let me double check this. I mean, I might have had him highest out of anyone. Not that that's like automatically, oh, I'm smart. Yeah, I had him higher than everybody. And most people had him top 100, so people had him around. But Mackenzie didn't have him on the list or anything. I mean, look, my hypothesis is, one, he's 6 feet tall. Just teams looked at that and went, yeah, but this guy's 6'4". So he's, you know. But in reality, too, with Beauchene, I think he's a player that plays with fire a lot. He's a guy who has that on-puck sort of deception. He's a defenseman that really relies on his skating ability first and foremost, more than anything. And he's creative. Like, I think that nowadays in the NHL, like, creativity is a bit scary, right? Like for some teams, not everybody, right? Like, if you know, it's why a guy like Jurovsky was drafted by Montreal. I think Montreal is a team that really values creativity still. They value that if you can do it, try it. And with Beauchene, that's kind of how I felt about him as well, where it's like he's very smart, moves the puck really, really well most of the time, but he does play with fire a little bit. Like, the way he plays requires a lot of precision and a lot of not screwing up. And when he screws up, it's bad. But it's because he doesn't play it safe, right? Like, and I would, with a 17-year-old hockey player, 18-year-old hockey player, I prefer when they don't play it safe, because then you see what they're really capable of, and you see how much they can really push the game. And if it works, then great. And if it doesn't, you can sort of go, okay, let's develop this. Let's massage this a little bit, right? But the skating ability, I think, is top notch. The defensive ability comes and goes, but I think it's there, especially on the rush. And with the offensive zone stuff, some of the stuff I've seen out of him, like, you can go to my sleepers video. He was in the sleepers video. Go look at some of the clips I put in there. Like, he is something. He's got some interesting tools. And I mean, he plays like a nerd, so he ends up with Kyle Dubas, right? Like, that's just the way she goes. Oh, thank you for the donations. Rank and rematch. I am plat 2, I think. Plat something. I don't think I'm plat 1. No, I'm not plat 1, but I can't remember because I played a little bit this morning, and I'm waffling, I think, between 1 and 2, something like that. Also, Captain Planet, yes, you did miss the Vancouver review, unfortunately, but we can go through it later. Have any thoughts on the Flames draft this year compared to last year? Yeah, I mean, I thought the Flames in the first round, like, nailed it. I mean, they didn't take my best players available, but they took the guys that definitely fit what they want to be. You know, like, I think the Flames are building one of the most fun futures in the league. Like, just fun. Like, they drafted a lot of... their first 3 picks are guys who, again, are that creative type. They push the game. They really like to push the game really, really well. And they don't settle. Like, they don't settle for the simple, dump it and forecheck style of hockey. Like, they try things, right? And last year's draft class was impeccable to me. This year, I wasn't as high on this draft class really at all. Well, not at all. I shouldn't say at all, but I wasn't as high on it. I will admit, Jan Matveyko, Jacob Linder, maybe Aiden Lane, maybe, but I've seen quite a bit of Aiden Lane. Those guys I haven't seen quite enough of to really know. I'm not a huge fan of Maceo Phillips. I never really realized how to pronounce his first name, so I apologize. But Phillips, I was not really over the moon about. He was going to get picked, and I just didn't have him ranked at all. Wittenbach is an interesting one. I've liked Wittenbach since last summer, honestly, and he's really skilled. Obviously there's a bit of a connection there too. He won the inaugural Johnny Gaudreau Award in the USHL. Johnny Gaudreau, obviously former Calgary Flame, means a lot to the organization, means a lot to the city. And so I'm sure that the Gaudreau family met him and had an opportunity to meet him and all that stuff. And so maybe there's some sort of soup there. And they go, you know what, this Wittenbach kid's really great. This draft class is poopy anyway, so let's just take him and see what happens, and take him before anyone else does. And but he is good. Like, he's a good player. I like Wittenbach quite a bit, but the first 3 picks they made were excellent, I thought. Rashny, Potter, and Stoelius. If you had taken Potter at 18, Rashny at 32, and Stoelius at 54, in my draft ranking world, like, that's entirely possible. I would be happy with that. I'd be really happy with that. And so I think they get at least 2 NHL players out of this. Maybe I think Stoelius has a lot of upside, but he's got a ways to go there. But I really, really liked Stoelius this year. What did you think of the Sharks taking Simon Wang at 33? I wouldn't have done it. I don't know. Like, with Simon Wang, it's like the feet are great, right? Like, he's a great skater, especially for someone his size. It's just like the rest of it, right? Like, he's a decent shooter. He's had some real flash in the offensive zone here and there. But like, he plays like a person who's not particularly, like, as experienced as the best of his age group at managing the game and, like, seeing the ice and all that stuff. Like, it's a mystery box with him. You're sort of going like, let's send him to college and see what happens, right? Like, he's not bad. He's not a bad player at all. Don't get me wrong. But I thought there were a lot of better players at 33, but could he end up outperforming that slot eventually? Sure, I guess. It's not impossible, but just wasn't my guy in there. What did I think of Philadelphia's second round of Amico, Vinsagi, and Murtaugh? I mean, I like those first 2. I mean, they all strike me as good Flyers picks. I think that for what the Philadelphia Flyers culturally seem to be, that makes a lot of sense. I really like Vinsagi. I do like what Amico could be, for what he could be. Like, I think he has a really good defensive upside, and the size and the skating ability all go hand in hand really, really well. I mean, I think Jack Nesbitt at 12 is a risk, to say the least. But Amico, you asked about Amico, Murtagh, Vinsagi, and I think those 3 guys all could be really good value. I mean, I had Murtagh a little later. I had him at 73. But I had Vinsagi at 23, Amico at 36, and they drafted Porter Martone. Like, Flyers did just fine. Our team's too focused on trying to be like the Panthers through the draft. For example, the Preds in recent memory are drafting Woods, Surin, and Martin. I mean, yeah, like that's kind of an open secret, right? Like NHL teams look at what's successful at the moment and they go, well, that's the paradigm, right? Which, again, I've said this many times, but in my opinion, I think people think they know what the Panthers are all about, but they oversimplify what the Panthers are all about and look over some things that you can definitely, see a little bit deeper. If you look a little deeper, things look a little bit different. Because it's the Panthers aren't just the Bruce brothers. The Panthers aren't the Hanson brothers. They have that in their blood, but that's not them. They're a bit different to that. They have that, and I think that's the camaraderie of the group. But they also score a lot. Even if you're out shooting them, they still score a lot. So find out why that might be. That's what's more important. Am I a secret scout for the Leafs? No, but Koblar genuinely shocked me. Like, that one was weird. I mean, I'm sitting there going like, okay, so I'm not on an island about this guy. Got it, And I had a feeling too, because like they drafted Victor Johansson and nobody knew who that was last year, and he plays for the exact same team. And Johansson looked pretty decent last year, just hadn't put it all together yet, and here he is leading his team in defensive scoring. And I think Koblar could just get better and better and better and better and better and better every year, just by how he's wired, how he plays the game. I love him. He was as high as like 35, 38 on my list this year at points. I just think the road is really, really long ahead of him, but he still ended up in my top 50, and I don't think anybody else had him that high. Maybe Tony, but Tony just cheats and just copies me, so whatever. The whole 2000s, every team who won the Stanley Cup were built like the Panthers. I don't know. I don't think so. Like, the Detroit Red Wings weren't. Like, I don't know. The Dallas Stars were led by Brett Hull and Mike Modano. You need all kinds of stuff to win the Stanley Cup. It's not that simple, right? Like, remember when the Boston Bruins made the Stanley Cup and they had who was on that team? I mean, for starters, they had Tim Thomas in net and Tuukka Rask, who, I mean, like, they'll help you win any game, so that's a help. But what year was it they won the Stanley Cup? Okay, 2011. That's what I thought. But yeah, like, looking at their roster, yeah, like Tim Thomas and Tuukka Rask, dude, that was insane. But anyway, yeah, like Patrice Bergeron, David Krejci, they had Mark Recchi on the team, like Brad Marchand. Blake Wheeler was on that team for a big chunk of the season. Tyler Seguin was on that team. They still had good hockey play. Like, they still had it. They rented Thomas Kaberle at the deadline. That is not a Florida Panther reputational player. Like, there's a lot more to it, I think, than just like get the biggest, meanest, heaviest guys around and punch the other team to death. Like, that's not what the Panthers really do. Like, that's not what they do. Not really, at least. What do you make of Columbus saying Smith, Andreanov, and Volte Voss were in their top 14? I mean, I've said this earlier, but NHL draft lists would make your head spin, my friend. They have all kinds of different priorities on all kinds of different players that they don't want to draft or don't think is worth drafting, and they end up with a guy like Voss in the top 14. I could see it. Have any film on Vasek Blanar? Apparently blew people's socks off at Bruins camp today, and he compares his game to Moritz Seider. Yeah, I saw him over the course of this season, and I mean, kudos to Boston for taking the plunge. Like, I've seen him a few times this year, but like, he played under 18 hockey in Sweden this year, and is bigger than everybody, like at least taller, and he like played the second division of junior hockey in Sweden. Granted, this team I think won the championship. I mean, I like what I saw out of him. Like, he's a very confident defenseman. Like, he's very willing to use skill and a pretty good shooter, but it just like it was just too low a level for me to really like get a good gauge there. And so if I had like, I mean, I didn't mind him, but I could see why a team might be just curious about him in that range, and I get it. I don't know. Like, I think with him again, it's a mystery box. Like, I don't think it's like a for sure thing that you're looking at like a steal, especially after one day of rookie camp. But like, he was certainly very confident, and he certainly is a pretty decent skater for a big guy like that. And so, lots of guys like that were getting drafted, and so yeah. But he's an interesting one. He's not nobody. He is a decent player. It's just I didn't see it tested at a high enough level. Like, if he had played Hockey Etten this year, or even like loaned to a better J20 program or something in the top division, then yeah, sure, I would have had a better look at him. But yeah, like, most of what I saw of him was like under 18 Swedish hockey, which can be a mess. If McQueen and Senichka, yes, if McQueen and Senichka both hit, it will be indeed fun. If teams are trying to emulate the Panthers in this draft, by the time these players are impact players, the archetype in the NHL will have already changed, so why emulate the Panthers? I mean, I see it as half correct. Like, the other part of it is like, everybody in your organization might be different by the time those players come along, right? Like, that's the thing. It's like, oh, who's our coach going to play? Who fits our coach's scheme? It's like, well, if you ask me, the coach should adapt around the players they're given, right? Like, that's kind of their job, and to motivate them to play that whatever. But I don't know. I get it. Interested to hear your opinion on the Ducks draft. I know you're a bit lower on McQueen, but very high on Nielsen. Yeah, the Ducks. I mean, the vibes were good with the Ducks. I mean, Roger McQueen could pay off, right? Like, the only reason I had him lower. Oh, we got a super chat. I'll cover that in a second. Sorry, Brad, is it Brad? Yeah. Roger McQueen, like, I only had him lower because I'm more pessimistic about his health. That's really it. Like, I didn't think he was amazing this year, but at least with him, I can at least see the argument of like, if he was just never fully healthy this year, and he was dealing with pain and all that stuff. And you think and multiple people are telling you that, nope, this guy's a top 6 center and it's going to be worth it. Okay, I could relent. And getting Eric Nilsson at where they got him, that is really good value. I think Nilsson also is kind of what Pat Verbeek likes in a player. Stoelius is an interesting one. I mean, the Ducks seem to like alternate between like taking big, heavy, physical defensemen and skilled, fun, offensive, like have fun kid type players. Like, Stoelius is like Cale Makar in Finland, but if he didn't skate like Cale Makar, like, he will try to dangle everybody, and like the skill and confidence is off the chain with him, but we'll see if he gets there. But yes, I also did. You mentioned Alain Samake. I really liked him. He's got a great story as well. I think him ending up in California is a really great sort of reward for what he's gone through in his career, bouncing around a lot. And everything I heard from everybody was that he's just the best kid. So I'm really proud of him getting picked. And again, at 168, like, I had him at 81. So yeah, he was on my list. I like him a lot. And yeah, I think the Ducks overall did fine. Like, Drew Schock is up that Bullius angle. Neuenschwander is a pretty good goaltender as far as I can tell. Maybe Guite is a decent bet. He regains some of the form that people thought he had last year. All around, I haven't seen much of Mathieu. Noah Reed is fine. I mean, picking him that high, I don't know, but he's an interesting one that I think could have a good junior career, and who knows. So yeah, the Ducks did pretty well. Yeah, Pietrangelo is basically retired. The lowdown on Spurchek and Yenborg, we kind of did that. We actually literally did do that. Did the Canes, you think, have a good draft? I mean, they didn't pick guys that I probably would be clamoring to draft. But overall, I mean, the Canes, like, they play the odds. The Canes are card counters, right? the Carolina Hurricanes are playing the odds on this. And they are very interesting. I mean, all of the players they've drafted, I have seen 3 of them were ranked for me. 1 of them was very nearly ranked for me, Serrato. I had Bosov ranked early in the year, but I just kind of slowly saw less and less that I really wanted to bet on. But again, if everybody is taking bets on big, lanky defensemen who are skaters, and that's really their first and foremost thing, Bosov might be one of the better, like, legitimate defensive players that was out there that is that archetype, rather than, like, we'll teach them how to defend, or, oh, they're really, really physical, and along the boards they're better. But in any case, like, Riyabkin is a bet on him being what he was at 16. That's really all it is. It's the same thing as Poirier last year, that if there's a 1% chance that he's a top 6 scorer and it's the 5th round, that is better odds probably than most people. You know, if it's a 1% chance that he is a very valuable part of the team because he can score, then we're taking that chance. And with Riyabkin, it's like, if there's a 1% chance that he is the 16-year-old version of himself once we deal with him and work through some stuff with him and whatever, and we think we can do that, that will look like a phenomenal pick. You know, like, same goes for Ekberg, right? Like, not the same reasons, but Ekberg, it's like, he's not a bad player. Everybody's seen him play pretty well here and there, and everybody kind of just completely forgot about him in the draft. So it's like, let's take him, right? Like, I'm pretty sure they had Ekberg pretty high as well, but I don't know. So who knows? And yeah, I mean, they just played the odds on this, right? Like, Limatov, the skating tools, the offensive ability, like, it's all there already. And you may as well take the swing on him. Viggo Nordland, super fun, super skilled, super slippery little guy, but fun to watch. And he played pro hockey a little bit this year, and I thought he looked pretty decent there. But I still think he's a long shot, kind of in the same mold as a Poirier. But again, if you think that at that point in the draft, this player has a 1%, 2% chance of being something that you always want more of, which is, in my opinion, scoring, and I think they would agree, then take them. You know, don't try to outsmart the hockey gods. Just go, okay, this is the hand that you have dealt us. We will make the prudent decision and see if it works. That's really it. Who do you think will have a chance to play in the NHL next year? It's a very good question. The thing is, college hockey does change things. It does change things because it gives the NHL another avenue to send their players, right? Like, they just work with them to send them to college. There are players that I don't think are quite ready for the NHL yet, based on what I've seen. Like, I would be very surprised. Maybe Schaefer, maybe, because he was, I think, that good. But I don't see the reason to rush him. Like, if there's a college program that really wants him, Michael Misa, the same thing. Like, those guys, I think that I would never, if I were running an NHL team, I would never be in any rush to put anyone in the NHL right away unless they really were comfortable there. I think there could be guys that get a cup of coffee, a couple of games at the beginning of the year before going back, like maybe a Brady Martin, Caleb Danois, maybe. Who knows, right? Like, maybe Roger McQueen has an amazing summer and has a great camp and gets a shot. Like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Martin, I could see Nashville being a team that, might have limited-ish expectations next year, but maybe not. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't expect many of them to, like, hit right away and be there and like, look like they belong there right away. Eventually, yes. Thoughts on the Flames picks? I mean, we went through them. Pretty good. As an OHL nut, I'm still utterly dumbfounded. Parker Holmes and Matt Halakar went. No offense, but what the hell? Yeah, I mean, but they're big. 42% of players 6 feet or over in the major junior leagues in the world got drafted this year. So, yeah. Yeah, Greer made it sound like it wasn't even close. I agree. Yeah, I agree. Oh, right, the super chat. Don't know if you've done the Jets already. Quick impressions. Yeah, I mean, the Jets, quietly continue to do really well. Boumedienne, I think I had him ranked 33, but I mean, I thought that he's an interesting bet long-term, really good skating defenseman, skilled, nice upside, but a ways to go before he gets there. Owen Martin, I think he's a smart player, nice blank slate guy to develop with. Klingsell, I don't think he makes it, but really skilled again, like a fun, skilled guy who I think will produce no matter where he plays, but I don't know about the NHL. Edison Engel's a guy who was on my list for bits and pieces of this season. I like him, pretty rangy defenseman, but has some good aggressive offensive moments, like very sort of, not obviously on the same level, but similar vibe to like a Frey that they drafted last year, like Alphonse Frey. Like defensive game was kind of hit or miss or whatever, but a really good skater with some really good sort of aggressive mindset moments that really worked. And Jacob Cloutier is just fun. Like he's small, but he's relentless and skilled and has a really good shot and scoring forward. That's a top 6 bet, right? You draft him, hold on to him, and maybe he's a top 6 guy, because I don't think he's a bottom 6 guy. Did you pick up any trends regarding specific teams being more or less obsessed with size? Yeah, I mean, there are teams that kind of bucked it. Winnipeg, right? Carolina, Calgary in bits and pieces, right? It's not all that case, right? Like, let me just do this. Sort by this and sort by. Oh, I broke my Wookiee. My spreadsheet. I broke it. Okay, there it is. Let's just see heights. Like, you know what? Let's just make a pivot table. Let's do that. Insert pivot table. Pivot. We'll go draft team. Okay. Row. Oh my god. What is happening? Oh, it's still loading. Okay. It's not working. Anyway, I was going to make a pivot table tracking the size of the players the teams drafted, but apparently there we go. I got it. Values, average, and then we'll filter out all the ones I don't have. Okay. So, who were the biggest teams? Here we go. So, yeah, the biggest teams are in red. So, yeah, Winnipeg, Vancouver, St. Louis, Dallas, and Detroit all kind of set size aside generally, by and large. And then you got Toronto, Chicago, Florida, Buffalo, Vegas, Washington, all big. I mean, so some teams, the strategy is a little bit different, and that's cool. But I think there are a lot of teams out there that think you need a mix of a lot of different things, and that's fine too. There we are. I have too many scenes on my OBS now. Did you see much of Liam Beamish? No, he's on the list for guys that I need to check out. 22 games guy was Parker Holmes. That's the one, drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks. That's true. Without Griffin Reinhart, there would be no Matt Barzal on the Islanders. That's true. Thoughts on the Habs pick, especially interested in Bryce Pickford? I mean, Pickford just rips shots. Like, he is a shooting defenseman. I thought Montreal had a really good draft overall. Like, Zhuravsky, I had at 61, but if you believe in him and you think that he could become this, which I think he could, I think the odds are relatively hard to see. It's similar to who are we talking about? The odds on a guy, I can't remember. But Zhuravsky, like, I look at Zhuravsky and I go, there's a lot of upside here. Huge amounts of upside. And I think the floor is 0. Like, he's not going to be in your bottom 6, but, like, he's got some skill. And he is one of the most creative people in the draft. And I love that about him. And so it's nice to see Montreal really believe in him. I really, really think a lot. Someone mentioned they had him at 16. I believe it. I could see a team, like, in terms of just raw fun factor. Yeah, one of the most fun players in the class. The only thing for me is that he was in the worst level of Russian junior hockey doing it, and looked, I thought, way less effective the moment they played above that division, because he just couldn't get away with it. But you leave him for 6 years in Russia, and you might have a top six forward plopped into your roster for nothing. Papanekis, I wasn't huge on him this year, but again, like, maybe you get a depth physical guy out of him. Pickford, a really heavy shoot first defenseman that I don't usually like those guys, but he's fine. Like, I thought he was really good at the Memorial Cup and deserved a pick, but I had other guys ranked instead of him. Radkov is an interesting goaltender that I've seen here and there this season. Played on a god-awful team. But LJ Mooney, I mean, that LJ Mooney might be the steal of the draft if things go right. Like, I don't think people quite realize just how good LJ Mooney is and was. I mean, like, look, he was astoundingly good in the World Under-18s last year, let alone how good he looked this year before getting injured. Like, some of the highlights out of him are absolutely ridiculous. I saw a TikTok highlight reel of him last night that I'd never seen before, but he, like, put the puck on his stick in stride coming off the half wall towards the goalie, lifted it off the ice with his stick, and just shoved it around him. If he does that in a game, instantly people are going to be like, steal. Why did nobody draft this guy? Now, I would love to see him try that kind of thing in a game, because he's the type of person that would do it. I don't know if he's going to be allowed, but God, man, Mooney rocks. The rest of them, meh. I haven't seen Cornwallier. I mean, oh yeah, Cornwallier, his analytics look good as a goaltender. Hondel, I wasn't crazy about this year. McNeil and Vig, I've never seen before, so we'll check those guys out. Why do you thoughts on the Jets draft? We kind of just went over it. The Sens did pretty well, I think, from what I remember. Getting Hensler in the first round, not bad. I thought that was a really good pick. Blake Vanek is an interesting one. You know, I like Blake Vanek quite a bit, but he's a bit of a ways away. This is higher than I thought he would go, but really fun player. Really fun player. Big and raw and has some power to his game, but I think he needs time to get there. Beckman, solid goaltender. Dmitry Isaev might be the first Russian they drafted out of Russia in like 15 years or something like that. Skilled, fun guy. Bruno Idzan, I've watched him for years. I am surprised at how successful he was in the USHL this year, but hey, greatest Croatian to ever lace him up, probably. And a really fun player to watch. Trofimov, really good numbers. I don't know. I don't know enough, but I know our goalie expert David Phillips really liked him. But yeah, the Sens did pretty well, actually. Why do you think Limatov fell so far? I think teams just, Russia was a little devalued for most guys, and his defending is really mixed. Like, he is a big, giant, rangy, offensive-leaning guy who has some trouble defending in quite a few scenarios, like the footwork and that mobility thing. Not his forte, and I think that might be teams just going, you know what, we have someone else that we like more, and they're not Russian, right? Like, the thing about Russia that's a little tricky is that you're trusting that organization to develop them on their own, really, until they're in the KHL, like get them into the KHL, like move them up the ladder properly and everything. And I think there are some teams out there that are not the most trustworthy, that's this thing that is in their wheelhouse, or something that they even really care about in the first place, right? But I could be wrong. That's just my read of it. But yeah, Limatov, I think it was an easy case to make that he should be a little later on, but I mean, he went too late, I think, and Carolina just, again, played the odds on this. You did miss my Canucks review. I'm apologizing now. Oh, Captain Planet, I told you already. The Islanders draft. Well, Matthew Schaefer, noted terrible hockey player. Not a great way to start. No, I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, I think they did really well. Like, the Islanders, I thought, had a really good weekend. Again, Aitchison, I'm obviously
talked it to death about how I'm not that much of a fan of him, really. He was in my second round, but hey, look, Schaefer, Ekblad, Aitchison, that's an interesting mix to come away from in the first round. You know, and the idea of Schaefer and Aitchison on a pair together or working off of each other or separate pairs, I don't know, could be quite something. You know, I think that's an interesting trio to come away with, especially getting Ekblad where they did. Like, that's just lunatic stuff. Like, that's crazy to me that he fell that far. But I mean, again, there's a 5 in his height, so, and it's not at the end, so the bar is artificially higher. So here we are. Unless you are a very specific subset of players that everybody talks about instead, especially North Americans. If that's your case, then you're okay. It's better off. But God forbid that 5 is a 10 afterwards. If it's 11, it's okay. You're barely okay. But if it's a 10, God help you if it's a 9. That's too much. You know, that's too much. Prokhorov is interesting. I like him. There's upside there. Long-term bet, I think. Romano, fun bet, smart player, you know, plays with some energy. My whole thing with him is just not sure he's an NHL level player in terms of like the physicality of the NHL, the intensity of the NHL. I just don't know if that's him, but I like him. He was one of the last names on my list because I just believe in him. I hope it works for him, so it's a nice pick. Politin, pretty simple player, like pretty basic profile, but a good, solid guy that can go to the net and mix it up and play physical and play smart and just, you know, he goes out and he's a solid hockey player who has some size and knows how to get to the net and knows how to score and knows how to do some stuff. Sam Laurela's fun. He's had a great year with Fargo. Really good skater. I always felt his offensive game was significantly better than his defensive one. Burke Hood, who knows, goaltender. Jacob Vasnica was one of my best, like one of my favorite USHL or NTDP guys. I love him. I don't know if he's like an NHL player, but I think he could be a really good college player eventually. Just the skill level is really good. Like his puck touches sometimes were just a hoot and a half. Like, you know, if you saw him in isolated moments this year, you might really be taken with him. Where were we? Yeah, we did the Flames. I've heard Novotny's going to the OHL. Sure. Yeah, we did the Flames. Yes. Have you seen Beckham Edwards and Alessandro Diorio? Yes. They're pretty good players, but I haven't seen enough to like go crazy. After Nilsson, the Ducks took a lot of guys I'm not aware of. We did the Ducks already. Who were those though? Yeah, like I'd say the one that I'm most excited about or curious about is Alain Saint-Maquet. Maybe Noah Reed could blossom into something really interesting, but I'm not sure about that. He's just really smart and creative. Just like sees the ice really well. So who knows what that turns into. Drew Schock had a really good under 18. I thought he was kind of interesting, but just barely didn't make the cut for me. What are your thoughts on Utah with Danois and Senichka? Yeah, to quote my co-host or my guest Jordan Millette, what's a Senichka? I don't know what a Senichka is. I mean, Danois, look, I got a comment in my YouTube inbox today from someone on the rankings where it's like, I think I'm underrating Caleb Danois. He's one of the best passers and playmakers in the draft, and that's literally what I said in the video. Like that's his thing. You know, I the thing about Danois is I just really, really hope that he reaches the expectations that people seem to have about him. I think he is a very good middle six scoring focused offensive winger or center. I think that maybe he could play a safe two-way sort of center's game with the playmaking ability he's got. But, I mean, a top 5 pick to me is a little bit much, just because I think there are other players in that group that also were right there with him doing other things at a similarly good level or the same thing at a pretty good level with other stuff that they filled in. But if you put him with the right players, which I think the Utah team kind of has already, then it could work. it'll be very interesting to see how it looks in a few years. But I mean, I like Danois. My thing is that Jordan and I were talking about, like, he's of all the 17-year-olds in the world, I think he's one of the 15 best. And the Utah Hockey Club thinks he's one of the 5 best instead of 15. And you know what? Okay. In the grand scheme of things, that's not that much of a difference. Like there are some things in this draft class that Danois was top 5, top 7 at, probably. But I just see a bit of limitations in his game that might not he might not be like the guy on his line unless the puck is in the offensive zone, which is valuable. But like in what I value, especially that high in the draft, like there are other factors that I weigh a little bit more. But Senichka, like a nice, again, mystery box. Like I like him, very good skater, very tall. I think his hockey sense is a little bit of a question mark, but there's something there. I'm not sure what, but, interesting toolsy guy. Thoughts on Philly taking Martone over Hagens? Well, I mean, look, if the perception about Hagens is that he is not a very physical player, then the Philadelphia Flyers are not as interested generally. I mean, look, the thing about James Hagens this year, and this is a thought exercise for all of you if you really care. Like, if you care about this stuff, you have a top 5 NHL draft pick. There is talk. What if Hagens isn't? What if Hagens is just one of those guys, these elite 16, 17, more skilled, faster than everybody else type players, and the NHL is just too much for them, and they end up 40 points a season? Do you want to stake your job on betting on that? If there's a possibility of that. Do you want to stake your job on that as a top 5 pick? Or do you take the bigger guy? Do you take the player who does play a little bit more physical in a sense where you can see it projecting? Hagens tries, I think. Hagens is more physical than I think he gets credit for, but I'm not expecting him to lay guys out all night. Do I think that that's the most important trait for a player to have? No. But if a productive player like Hagens is not producing, that's a problem. A guy like Martone kind of works with just about anybody, like with how he plays. He can be the puck transition guy. He can be the playmaker. He can score. Like, he can chip in physically. He can do a whole lot of things. And they were in the same tier for me, right? Like, I thought there was an argument for Martone over Hagens, and sure, but I don't know. Like, again, it's like, would you, the last thing you want is James Hagens being a guy in the middle of your lineup who is just underperforming what was expected of him. And next thing you know, Porter Martone on the Boston Bruins is in the second round, third round of the playoffs and bumping and grinding away and scoring points. And if there's a doubt in your mind that that's a potential avenue and you think it's more likely than the inverse, which there is an argument, I don't agree with it, but there's an argument, then I can see it, Thoughts on the Habs draft day picks and trades? I mean, getting Dobson is look, if I'm the Montreal Canadiens, if I'm Kent Hughes, I'm looking at the roster right now and I'm going, look, we made the playoffs. We had some fun against Washington. We pushed them around a little bit. Eventually it fell apart, but there was some magic in that playoff run, in my opinion. So if I'm Montreal, I'm sitting here going like, why are we drafting more guys? What? Why? Like, what's the point? Oh, the Islanders want to get rid of Noah Dobson? Oh, he's thinking about coming to Montreal? Like, okay, let's make that happen. Yeah, duh. Like, that instantly is like a top pair at best, really good top, at worst, like great top 4 defensemen to have on your roster who can produce and take some of the offensive load off of a guy like Hudson. Like, sign me up. 2 middle first round picks and a bottom 6 winger. Yeah, I do that. Not saying that the Islanders should have gotten more. I think for what the Islanders have, they did decently well. But the Habs are like, they're in like a win mode now, I think. Like, the Habs should be this, like, let's become a playoff staple, right? Like, that's what we want to be now. We're not the bunch of kids anymore. The expectations are higher. But management also then has to go out and say, okay, yeah, we're going to ratchet up the expectations, but we're also going to give you more toys to play with, right? You know, and I mean, the Habs defense group is kind of the biggest thing that I had issue with this year watching them. Dobson's a huge ad for them, especially with guys like David Savard, you know, Michael Matheson, just on the older side of things. Dobson's 25. Like, I thought the Habs did great. And trading up for Zhuravsky, like, I see the logic. If you really believe in him, if you really believe in the top end stuff you've seen out of him, which it exists, by all means, be my guest. You know, if you think that's your guy and because he does have a big ceiling, then go nuts. Thoughts on Philadelphia's 6th round pick? I don't even know who that is. Is it Luke Luswick? Nathan Quinn? I don't know. I didn't really like either of those guys this year, honestly. Quinn's a decently smart playmaker. Like, I shouldn't say that he was, like, not good. But, like, good puck mover, but small and kind of slim. And one of these smaller guys that I just didn't think, like, I don't see with a particularly awesome trajectory. But you never know. Really young. So draft him, stick him in Quebec, and he's going to Northeastern. So that's fun. Like, you'll get lots of time to develop, and I could see him scoring a lot of points. I just don't know about scoring points in the NHL. We talked about Malte Voss a little bit. I did track him. Look, I'll tell you this. The NHL is currently, and I think this is very blatant now, the NHL is targeting trap defensemen. The NHL is targeting octopuses, right? That's what they're targeting. The NHL is looking for, like, look at the Toronto Maple Leafs defense group now, right? They traded all of their puck managing guys. And the one that they have left had an awful season in Morgan Riley. But who are the guys that were playing a lot? Simon Benoit, you know, even in OEL these days. Like, guys who generally, you know, sat back, you know, Chris Tanev. Also not big, though. Like, not the biggest guy in the world. But safe, dependable defensively, sit back, and just go get the puck out of the D zone. If you can do it with control, great. If not, chip it in there. Get it to the red line, dump it in. That's your job. Nothing more. Put it on net from the point, maybe, but we're not expecting you to score. That's not your job. That's what the NHL seems to value these days. And that's okay. I disagree, but it's logical. There's logic to it. Malte Voss doesn't really do much, but he's pretty good at not doing too much. He's big. He's decently mobile, pretty decent stick checker, keeps it super simple. Just very, I use this word loosely and not to be disrespectful, but like very uninspired hockey. Just goes out, eats a couple of minutes, takes a shift. Goes out, eats a couple of minutes, takes a shift. You know, takes a break. And he's good at it. You know, like and he's got the size and the tools to do that. So I get it. Top 14, the only logical explanation I can really think of is there was a whole bunch of guys between 20 and 74 where they went, we're not going to have a chance at drafting these guys anyway, so yeet them from the list anyway. Let's just forget about them and just not even have them on the list, which, fair enough, I understand. But even then, like, Malte Voss at 14 is something. Thoughts on we did the Habs. Thoughts on Columbus completely changing up their draft demo? I mean, everybody seems to be doing that these days. Look at Toronto. It's nuts. Can you take a moment to talk about how awesome Bill Zanon is? No. Go watch the Scouching report on him. You'll see plenty of that. Doing my end of the month reporting right now, and I saw a payment addressed to someone with the last name Nesbitt. Does this mean Jack Nesbitt is the best player from the draft in 10 years? Yes, that's exactly what it means. Is this chat onion friendly? One time I ate a whole onion. Is that friendly? I ate a whole onion for junk food at summer camp. I had a counselor bet me that the way it worked at my summer camp is that we had like a little convenience shop that opened once a week for each group. So you'd get like, you know, you could spend $2 and get like a Macintosh toffee or something. That was the big one everybody got because it lasted the longest. And I had a counselor who was like, you know, hey, I was like, I love onions. I love onions so much. And he goes, oh, okay, cool. Like, you know, whatever. And I was like, what would you give me if I ate a whole onion? I was also like 12, like my idiocy was still blooming, and I really didn't know my limits. And I was like, I'll eat a whole onion. What do you give me? Charlie Kelly style. And my counselor was like, if you eat a whole onion, I will buy you, on every opportunity I get, I will buy you one junk food thing of your choice. And I went, okay. And I proceeded to eat a whole onion. And I couldn't taste anything for 2 days afterwards, but I did it. And the bastard didn't follow up. He lied to me. He didn't. He thought I wouldn't do it, and he refused to comply with the terms of our deal. Dan Metzger, I remember your name. You're probably having a really good life right now, doing the thing, fancy life, being older than me. But I remember getting hoodwinked by you, eating a whole onion for nothing. Thoughts on the Hawks trying to get 2 Giants in Nestersil and Mason West in the late first? I wouldn't have done it, but Chicago came out after the draft and outwardly said, we need guys that will protect the guys we've already drafted. Okay. All right. See how it works. 2 mystery boxes. I like Nestersil. He's not there yet. Mason West, I did not see a first-round pick there at all. But maybe. I don't know. I was surprised Ekblad and Bear were available for Detroit. I wasn't. What is the difference between them? Bear is a little bigger. Bear is definitely more net-driven with the puck. But not nearly as consistent off it, and not nearly as good as a play driver off of it as Ekblad is. But Bear will be a solid option. Bear is a definite Detroit Red Wing. Definitely a Detroit Red Wing. Mike Matheson moves up to play center for the Habs. Sure, why not? How bad could it be? I agree Martone should be in the NCAA for a year. He very well could. What did I think of Detroit's draft? Overall, really good. I thought Detroit did really well. Obviously not... I mean, I don't think there's a single team that I looked at this year and I went, oh my God, they did amazing. But Detroit did do quite well. Like, Carter Bear, really good player. I could have easily picked him in that range. Yenborg, sure. I think he's projectable. I don't think he's super high upside, but I could see it. Pradell, I liked him as a goalie this year. He had a good under 18s, solid. Brent Solomon is a fun goal scorer. I can't believe he went before Michael Spurchek, but whatever. I'm not going to complain. Good goal scorer, pretty good skill. Not much more to him than that, but like he does do things well where it counts. Spurchek, well known my feelings about him. Nikita Turin is an interesting one. I've seen him over the course of the season. Like, pretty good mobile guy, pretty solid defensive ability, like sneakily kind of solid. Like, not amazing, but he's a guy I could see, like, he plays kind of a smart style of play, and 4 or 5 years down the road, maybe he's having a good career. I don't know much about Will Murphy. I'll have to check him out. And Robertson Palmer has been a prep guy that I've tuned in on a couple of times this year, and I've liked him when I've seen him. I haven't seen a ton, but he's a guy where I kind of went, okay, and filed it away, and then he was picked, and I went, oh, cool. I don't know. Not much more to it than that for me. What's your view on Jurovsky? Seems like a boomer bust. Yes. Is he going to play in the KHL next year? It's possible. How's the play style fit with Demidov? They're both pretty much playmaker first, so I don't think they would gel together super well, but I mean, they both can shoot, so maybe it's like they both just feed off of each other and they both score 140 points, right? Like, I don't know. You said during the show you knew the Bruins were going to take Vasek Blanar. What's the story? So, I don't think I said I knew they were going to take him, but I knew that there were teams kicking tires on him, and one of the teams was Boston. Like, they were curious. And they weren't the only ones. So that's another thing. Like, they weren't the only ones that I heard that from. I actually got asked about him by someone middle of the year. They're just like, this guy is getting... Our scouts in Sweden are talking about this guy all of a sudden. They're like, what the hell is this all about? And I went, okay. So I took a look. I get, like, it's just people telling me, right? Like, over the course of the season, like, I talk to people and it's confidential and it's quiet and private, and it's like, we just talk shop, but they don't give me anything of like, we want this guy, we're drafting this guy. It's more like, multiple teams, were curious about a guy like that, and one of them happened to be the Bruins. Would love to know a little bit more about what the top 10 talents outside of McKenna are next season. I mean, okay. Like, I do think next year looks solid. I think next year's draft class looks solid. There are some fun ones. I couldn't tell you a top 10. I mean, I have guys penciled in that I want to prioritize, you know, Preston, Villeneuve, Stenberg, McKenna. I feel pretty sure that those guys are going to be pretty high, at least to start the year. Like, I really did like Pierce Bouilly last year with Owen Sound. He had a really good year. Viggo Bjork. I'm not as high on Bjork as other people, but I like him. I thought Ryan Rubrek was pretty good at the World Under 18s. Landon Nitsch is a defenseman that I've really liked in the USHL. Wasn't as productive as I hoped this season, but he's pretty solid. Elton Hermanson, Adam Novotny, you know, there's a lot of solid ones. Oscar Holmertz is a Swedish kid that I liked this year. But I couldn't give you a top 10. There's no way I could give you a top 10 right now. But I'm excited. Like, I'm looking at this class, and from what I've seen of them, like, I'm excited to dig into them, you know, starting in September or whatever it's going to be. The Wilder drafting Banach trying to get rid of Rossi. Yeah, I mean, sometimes the people drafting the guys for your team and the people running the team can be kind of separated. Left eye, right eye, you know? Camera 1, camera 2. Kraken draft thoughts? Okay. I do remember thinking, oh yeah, that guy plays like a guy that Kraken would want. O'Brien, sure, I like him. Projectable, smart, really good under pressure, thrives in the chaos of a hockey game, which I think is valuable. Fiddler in the second round is good value. I liked Fiddler a lot. I thought he had some really good moments with the puck on his stick, especially on the rush, and just a really, really impressive player. Will Reynolds, I've seen him here and there. The only thing I remember about Will Reynolds this year was I watched a couple of games of him, and I just was like, this guy's not doing anything. And then, like, last few minutes of the game, he just dangled someone once and just absolutely wrecked them. And it's like, oh, well, okay. But there, I don't know. The rest of them, Agafonov, really a big, lanky, pretty safe, boring defenseman. I wasn't a huge fan of him. Onborn, fine. I thought that was good value where he went. I wasn't huge on Onborn this year, but in the 7th round, I feel like he should have been gone by then. Loki Krantz, I'm going to check out. Loki Krantz. He's one of the ones I haven't seen. Or at least I haven't seen enough of to give you a good answer. Have you gone over what you think of Toronto's draft and how it compares to your team's scouting picks? Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a different strategy, and I was more stunned that Koblar was that high on their board. Obviously, like with team scouting, I can't retroactively go, oh, you know what, I'm not gonna draft this guy. I'm not gonna put this guy down instead because this guy went and I want this guy instead, and I don't want to not get him later. That's just something I have to live with and a rule that I've set on myself. So Koblar going that late or that early was a weird feeling, honestly, because I've talked about him so much. He was one of the first scouting reports we did this year, and I just loved so much about his game, and there was so little attention paid to him. And it's like, of all the teams in the NHL, the Toronto Maple Leafs were the ones with their ear to the ground on him and had him valued clearly, similarly to how I had him valued, clearly, which is kind of wild. And Bell and Nancy, it kind of just makes me think, like, okay, the Leafs are in a new era, but they're not focused on the wrong things. I know what they're trying to get at, especially relative to last year. I feel like last year was a little bit murkier, but this year I'm looking at it and I'm going, yeah, like, I see where you're trying to go here, and you at least picked some guys that fit that in a good way. Koblar just blew me away, but Nancy and Bell in that range, you wouldn't have had to try to convince me very hard. if you really liked those guys as people, they really meshed with your team and your development staff really liked them, I would go, you know what? Okay. Sure. Gushchin qualified. Yeah. Who knows what happens with Gushchin this year. How do you think of Kenta Isegai? I love him. I think Isegai rocks. He's fun to watch, and I don't know what he's doing next year, but he's in someone's camp this year. I don't remember whose, but another development camp for him, and so I'm hopeful about him. He plays the way I love. He's just a little small. 5 years from now, you think Seattle's lineup looks... How do you think their lineup looks with Beniers, Catton, Wright, and O'Brien? I wouldn't expect all those guys in the lineup. I mean, I if I'm Seattle, I am starting to think, okay, let's go get a big fish. Who's available? They need their Jack Eichel trade. They need it. They need something like that. They are desperate for it. I think Beniers has a lot more in the tank to give from here. You know, if a guy like Catton or Wright is part of a package that brings in like an all-star level player for you, that's, I think, where Seattle is. Because you've got a lot of young players and a team that I think needs to start building some success over the long term. I think it's possible with the young guys they've got, but I think it would be easier if this is around the time where I go, no, it's time for Seattle to maybe overpay for someone. Like maybe potentially make a dumb decision, but go get someone, right? Do your homework, of course, but if try something because, yeah, they need it, I think. How about the Avs picks? What, like all two of them? Colorado, where are you? I think they're a team that... Okay, so I haven't seen enough of Nolan Road to tell you what to think. Linus Funk is a big, lanky, skatey boy. He gets around the ice pretty well. Francesco Del Elche, I guess. Fun. I saw him play with UMass a few times this year. I wouldn't have used a third-round pick on him, but he can shoot. He's got some skill. He's a good offensive defenseman and had a really good year. I don't know. I can't tell you it was a screw-up, especially in the third round where, you know, most guys are, yeah. Jan Matvenko, I haven't looked at him. I will, though. Pretty cool that Landon Marlowe was invited to Sharks Dev Camp. Yeah. Thoughts on Penguins draft? We kind of went over that. I thought they did really well. How did Luka Radivojevich, Dakota Rayon Mullen, and Kenta Isegai not get drafted? They have a 5 in their height, and it's not at the end. That's why. I mean, I think Radivojevich is a long way off from being an NHL player. And Dakota Rayon Mullen is just all skating, and I don't know if he's really... I don't know what he is. Like, is he because if he's a defensive-leaning guy, the defensive results weren't very good. And if he's an offensive-leaning guy, the transition results were okay, but the offensive zone play was really lackluster. So it's like, what are you getting out of him? And I don't know the answer to that, and I feel like teams must have just been like, we're going to draft a guy who's a good skater, but not 6'4", so too bad, so sad, I guess. Isegai, I don't know, a 19-year-old, 5'10" center/winger who's aggressive. It just wasn't in the cards, I don't think. It's the time to draft him was 3 years ago, but yeah, he is also small. Thoughts on Ekblad falling to the 7th round? I'm surprised it was that far, but I'm not surprised he fell. I didn't have him ranked. I just didn't see an NHL player there, but the hands and the quickness and the shot are pretty good, and I thought he was pretty smart off the puck. I just don't know what he is projecting to the NHL, so I think teams felt similarly. Did I think Spurchek was going to fall that far? I knew he would fall, and every bit of information out there that wasn't me was mid-round pick, which fair enough, but I really loved him. I love him a lot, and I think the track record is there for something really successful. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that he fell that far. I'm relieved that he got drafted. You know? Yeah. What do people see in Frondell? I've never seen him drive play, create play, or carry the puck. Yeah. So Frondell is, you know, look, I think what the Chicago Blackhawks have been doing generally, they've drafted a lot, and I think generally they've added some really good players for the future. I will be very curious how this era of a rebuild for the Chicago Blackhawks develops from here. Because Frondell, I saw the quote that was given about him where he was like, what position do you think you'll play? He goes, I'll play whatever position I need to on a line with Connor Bedard. Which is a good answer, because it's the right answer. But I feel like Frondell is going to be a winger on that line. A good one. I think if you give him a specific job, he'll do it really well, which is sort of complementing guys like Connor Bedard. Get the puck to Connor, find space away from him, be ready for a shot, be ready to make a play hard along the boards. If that's his job, I could see him doing it pretty well. Is that worth a third overall selection in this class? I mean, maybe. I can't say no, but he wouldn't have been my first choice. I look at it as Chicago, I think, still lacks that bona fide, I am the 1-2 punch guy with Connor Bedard, because they've avoided it, kind of. Like Demidov and Bedard, I said it all season. That pair is cereal box level potential. This season, Hagens and Bedard, I get it. They're small. You deal with that. Those two guys together would cook, right? You need something else on that line to complement it, but a Frondell perhaps. But for me, Frondell, I agree. I think he is a little bit limited, but yeah, I mean, still a good player at what he does. Really good at what he does. Yes, Isegai was invited to a development camp. I just can't remember who it was, honestly. Were you going to do videos on each team with a letter grade? Yes, I have to watch all of the players that I have never seen before that got drafted. This year there were quite a few, because 42% of 6'3" players in major junior leagues got picked, and I didn't watch all of them. And yeah, but they're coming probably in the next... I'll probably start filming them next week, probably. And they'll start coming out pretty quick after that. How do you think going to North Dakota will impact Rashny's development? It'll be good. It'll be great. I don't expect him to be like a freshman immediately and jump to the top of the scoring sheet in the NCAA, but I think over time he'll just get better and better and better and better. I feel like. And honestly, if I'm an agent, if I am anything, I am saying, you know, who has a lot more resources and is a much better, if you want to develop as a player, you want a much better environment, a university in America with a great hockey program, it's a pretty good way to live for a time, I think. You know, it's not bad. Having Hudson and Dobson as their 2-minute eating defensemen, who defends on their team? Who cares? I don't know. Like, no, I'm not betting against Noah Dobson at all. You know, like let's look at Montreal's roster right now. Like, you've got Goulet, you've got Struble, you've got Carrier. Those are 3 solid defensive players. Is this not what you drafted Caden Goulet to do? Who else does Montreal have? I'm sure they have other defensemen who are like, what's Reinbacher's job? I don't think Reinbacher's really an offensive heavy guy. I think giving him a defensive job that sits back a little bit and opens up some room for him to sort of play it a little safer would be perfectly acceptable to me. The Habs are gonna be fine, I think. Yeah, I'm just looking up and down their list here, and yeah, it's not a concern for me. You'll figure it out. Having Hudson and that was a question we just did. With Sasha Boumedienne, Jet Scouts and the Sportsnet panel both made a big deal about his under-18 production. If the offense starts to pop a little more at college, does the ceiling raise? Well, no, the ceiling is there, right? It's always there. That's his thing. It's rough around the edges. His game is pretty rough around the edges, in my opinion. but when he has some good moments, they are really good. And you are betting on development, you know? You got to keep in mind too that he is a 17-year-old or was a 17-year-old playing in the NCAA, which is pretty rare and not easy, you know? Do I think he was like ready for it and it was the right decision? I don't know. It turned out okay. He's a first round draft pick, right around where I had him ranked. I just, you know, I think he's fine. And I mean, it's easy to make a big deal about someone when they go from college hockey to playing children and running them over production wise, right? Running the power play on a team that is light years ahead of most of the competition. Like, you just have to be careful, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have offensive game, and it's pretty good, and it could get a lot better. I agree. A deal invalidated demands penance. I agree, Shabab. Maddox Dagenet should be top 7. Why? You explain to me why. I'm saying that because I haven't seen enough of them to know. So if you can explain it to me, that'd be nice. He's good. Okay. Clearly, Porto Martone is a god. Okay, yes, here comes the Steelheads fan. Imagine how much far. Oh my god. AJ's not here tonight. You got to save that for when AJ's back. I agree McKenna might have competition for first overall. I agree, personally. I'm not sure it'll be Verhoff, like you said later, but I think I'm not totally sold on McKenna being number 1. And I feel, I'm going to get on the soapbox again, so earmuffs if you don't like it. I don't think we should anoint anybody as anything, especially this early. It anchors you, right? It anchors you to a thought, and it becomes really difficult. I mean, it's less difficult for me over time, but it becomes really difficult to separate and go, maybe this is not what I thought, right? And I think a big lesson for me was Alexis Lafreniere that year, because I remember watching him. Shane Wright as well, another lesson. Watching those guys going, I don't know. You know, not saying I do that with McKenna. He's obviously an incredibly gifted player, but I'm not locking him in at 1. I mean, I'm not going to put Verhoff and Belchetz ahead of them, and they're not. Yeah, no. I think there's a player type that you seem to like. I just don't think I project McKenna as an elite NHL scorer that, you know, like it might turn out like a Patrick Kane, where, yeah, he won Stanley Cups and drove a ton of offense for his team, but Patrick Kane's two-way game and overall impact was very offensive heavy, which is fine, but it's not like you need to build around that to work with it and make it all sort of come together. But still an unbelievable player. He's slotted at number 1 for me right now, but I'm not tied to it at all. The Sharks need to fix 2 things: the right D and reach the cap floor. So how do you feel about a 1-year max cap deal with Nick Perbix? I say do it. Screw it. Do it. You need to see a sills competition between AJ and Will. Yes, I would do it. I don't know if AJ can skate. I can. I'm actually kind of good at it. Ish. Maybe not amazing, but decent. Probably better than AJ, though. The Avs pick a Funk. Big, mobile, rangy guy. Again, it's the dime a dozen guy that got drafted this year, but he's a good version of it. So, what grade would I give the Preds draft? Well, I don't want to spoil the video that's coming out eventually, but let's take a look here. I mean, like, it's good. I think the Predators, when you look at all of the players they selected, I think they did well. Martin, Reed, Lee, all strong players. Guys I had between 10 and 30. So first round picks, all guys I had in my first round. Great. Rombach, I would not have drafted that high, but I get it. He was a watchlist guy for me. It's cool. Daniel Niemanen, also a watchlist guy for me. Really nice swing they took. Love Daniel Niemanen. Huang is Preds coded to death. Skater, 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 skater. And Ivankovic, I'm surprised he went that late, but good pick. Good boy. Schaefer versus Power entering the draft. Schaefer, 100%. I had Power at 7. Like, I was never a huge Power number 1 guy. So Schaefer for me. Thoughts on no defenseman below 6 feet? We've talked about it. I mean, like, it is what it is. And also, I don't think there were that many this year at all that I would have been like, this guy needs to be picked. This guy is as good as like a Lane Hudson type player. They just didn't exist. Galvis I really like still. But I don't know. It's not going to happen. Vegas wins the cup and Marner gets the Conn Smythe. Yep, that's exactly what's going to happen. Yes, Isegai was invited to a camp. I just don't remember. I hope that football guy that Chicago drafted turns into a real player. Yeah, that would be fun. He's just a mystery box. It's fine, you know. And I think you're right. Anders Lee did play football way back in the day. Is Kyrou actually happening? Blues probably waiting till midnight for the Kyrou shenanigans. That'd be fun. Look, that's the kind of deal that Seattle, I think, needs to make. And I think Elliot Friedman said the same thing. Like, get in on a guy like that. If the St. Louis Blues are thinking about getting rid of a Jordan Kyrou, I would get in on that pretty quick. Do you think Brady Martin returns to the Sioux, or does a college make him a big offer? I mean, I feel like any elite NHL draft prospect drafted really, really high going back to the CHL in 2025, the league will be worse, right? You're sending them back to a worse competition level than last year. So that to me is like a last resort, right? So the problem is that I don't believe that you can go to a college program if you have signed an entry-level deal. But you can't play in the NHL unless you have signed an entry-level deal. So they're going to have to work that out. But to me, I don't believe that putting a person back in... I don't believe that putting a person back into a league that is going to be worse than it is this year, when they were already extremely successful there, is a good idea. You know what I mean? That's just my vibe. What does Montreal give up for Kyrou? I don't know. They have everything. They have something that the Blues will want. I don't know what, but they have all kinds of things to offer. So if I feel like if Montreal wants this to happen and the Blues are selling on Kyrou, they have something that can make it happen. Same thing with Seattle. Montreal will probably be fine. Seattle would probably be fine. They just have so much in the hopper that this is why you do what you do. This is why you draft. Because now you have like, oh yeah, if we want a Jordan Kyrou, we can trade to get him. So what you're saying is the NHL will indeed rig the draft for Penguins to draft McKenna at 5. That's exactly what I'm saying, actually. Word for word, that's exactly what I'm saying. So I appreciate that you're picking that up. Do you think the Wings made a mistake by not taking Kayshawn, or do you think Bear was the best pick at 13? I would not have taken... Look, maybe you're new, but I'm not a huge fan of Kayshawn Aitchison at that point. I think Carter Bear has tons of potential. I think Detroit Red Wings fans are going to love Carter Bear. I see a bit of a similarity to how I feel about Bear as to how I felt about Casper. And I think Casper played really well for Detroit this year when I saw them. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw Detroit a little bit this year, and whenever I saw Casper, I thought he played pretty well. And I went, yeah, that's my guy. I mean, I didn't have him ranked super high, not where they drafted him, but I see why he's valued. And Carter Bear is similar. I think Ekblad was the guy that was probably my best player available. I think I had him at 4. And I really, really love him, and I think he would have also been a good ad, but Carter Bear is a nice part to have. Yeah, I mean, we'll see on Dagenais. I go off of the puck preps guys at this point a lot of the time, and I think they're pretty decently high on Dagenais. But I don't remember. Maybe some of them are watching and they can tell me in a Discord chat before the end of the show and yell at me about how correct or incorrect I am. I don't know. I don't have my Discord open, probably for good reason. I'd get too distracted without Dad here. Schaefer versus Dahlin. Probably Dahlin. Yeah, probably Dahlin, but it's pretty close. Like, Schaefer is a horse. Dahlin is a wizard, right? One is a wizard. One is a knight in shining armor, kind of. Does that make sense? Like, if I'm building like a RPG crew, I have one who's a wizard and I have one who is a man on horseback, and like Boromir. You know, I got Boromir and Gandalf. Which one's better? I don't know. It's nice to have them, though. Have you talked about the Wild yet? A little bit, but not specifically all of them. So yeah, Minnesota. Hallquist is fine. Again, big, safe, rangy defenseman. Banak is a nice bet. I had a feeling he'd be available at 100, and he was. Lior Mamedovsky is okay. I wasn't blown away with him this year. Carter Klippenstein, I saw a little bit of him and liked him. Just like in terms of the hands and the size combination is kind of fun. Kipke, I don't know. Re-entry guy. I think he was the only guy that was re-entered into the draft and drafted. That was like the only guy who's been drafted twice. Who can you compare to my playstyle and rematch for this draft class? Justin Carbonneau, easy. Thoughts on the Flyers big boy draft? I mean, they didn't do what I would have done, but they drafted pretty good versions of those big boys, right? I like Amico. I like Vinsagi. I mean, I think Nesbitt is an enormous risk to take, especially trading up. You know, I think back to my feelings on Arizona trading up to get Connor Geekie and giving up a lot of picks to do that. I remember being a lot more positive about Connor Geekie's game at that time than I do about Jack Nesbitt's game right now. You know? So there's kind of the difference to me. That's kind of how much I don't really approve of this. And I look back at that draft for Arizona and I look at the players that just slipped through the cracks and the potential there with that roster. If they didn't make that trade, and God, you know, I mean, yeah, Connor Geekie got you Mikhail Sergachev, but my best player available list for Arizona that year, if they didn't make that trade, where is it? I should say Utah, by the way, but no. What year was that? That was 2022, so that would have been, yeah, so who was on that list for me that year? Brad Lambert, Shane Wright, Seamus Casey, Lane Hudson, Ty Nelson, Kali Odelius, Kenta Isagai, oddly enough, was on that list. Gleb Trikozov, but like at the very least, right? Like Lane Hudson is on that list. Seamus Casey is there. Obviously, they're small. You know, Vladimir Gradinin, 20 plus minutes a night in the KHL right now. I can see him coming over eventually and being pretty good. So, I don't know. I'm just saying that, you know, trading a lot of picks to go out and get a big boy who you think has upside and long-term development potential, it's a risk. That's all. It's a risk. Isagai is on the Kings development camp list. There you go. That's it. Was Patrick Kane the last winger to go first overall? Lafreniere was the last one. Any players you're surprised never got drafted? For me, Radivojevic and Veilleux were shockers, but teams... I mean, I don't think anybody, like, shocked me that wasn't picked. Maybe Osmanis, because he was good at the World Juniors. Reese Hamilton didn't get picked? Yeah, Reese Hamilton. I thought Reese Hamilton would get a flyer. But other than that, I don't think anybody undrafted, based on my assumptions and seeing everybody, nobody else really surprised me. There are guys that I liked. They're just small. And Skvortsov. I'm really surprised nobody of all the 6'4" defensemen that were drafted, none of them were named Danila Skvortsov. That makes me think people just like forgot about him because he was pretty good at times this year. Oh yes, Slavkovsky was a winger too. That's true. Still is, but he was then too. Do you think teams will generally nudge their players towards the NCAA? I would. I would. Who overpays for Brock tomorrow? Brock who? Nelson? I thought he signed. I don't know. Why did Spence fall so far? Does he have an attitude? What Spence? Jordan Spence? Jordan Spence is small. Oh, Malcolm Spence. I just think Malcolm Spence's game is pretty limited, and I've felt that way all year. He plays like a third line NHLer in the OHL, which to me scares me because the NHL is way faster than the OHL, and I just didn't feel like he had that like ability to push the pace. Like at the pace of the OHL, I feel like he's very comfortable as a physical player, but the projection was a little bit questionable, and I feel like teams went, if we have any doubt, maybe we don't take the guy, and he just slipped. I don't think it's anything to do with an attitude. We've met him actually, I think, and seems like a solid dude. Brock Besser, that's the one we're talking about. Maybe. I don't know. We know Fiddler and Vansegi got drafted. Yeah, maybe. Do you think the Sharks taking 0 right-handed defensemen will come back to haunt them? No. Look, if they drafted 6 right-handed defensemen this year, they'd still be in the same boat. They're not going to play in the NHL right now. They're years away. So the problem still exists no matter who you draft this year, right? So you solve those you don't solve a current problem with the draft. That's just not, that's like saying I'm going to fly to Europe in a boat. It's like, well, it's not the best way to get there, but it's also you're not flying. You're in a boat. Like it's a different thing like it's just a different thing that's useful for different stuff altogether. It's not the best way to do, there's other ways to do it that are probably better than in a boat and you're not flying. So it's like it's a I don't know, that's not the best example, but you know what I mean. What do you think about Nestrasil and the Hawks' approach to only draft 6'6" dudes? They weren't the only ones. I don't know. We'll see how it works. I'm guessing as an Isles fan, I should be stoked with your draft. You should be pretty excited, I would say. I mean, Schaefer is fun and special and really exciting, and I think Victor Ekblad is a fantastic pick where they got him. We'll see the rest. Yeah, not a good analogy. I know, it's not very good. You try doing this live, sir. No, I'm kidding. But you know what I'm trying to say, though. Like, you don't fix current problems by doing something that you won't see the results of until the next decade. That just makes no sense. So you draft good players so that you can package them to get what you need. That's the point. Doesn't matter what position they play, in my opinion. You draft the players to create. You draft players so that you end up with good problems down the road. It's like, oh my God, we have too many scoring wingers that can score. Oh my God, what do we do? And then it's like, well, teams would like that. Maybe I'll take a right-hand defenseman from them. Justin Kipke got drafted twice. I think he was an Arizona Utah pick, and they didn't give him an offer, and they let his rights relinquish. And if that happens, you get to go in the draft. The only guy I really would have thought about drafting that was a re-entry that had been drafted before was Carter Sutherland. But other than that, yeah. What do you think was your biggest scouting miss since you've done these trackings every year? I do think I overvalue the guys that I like and am kind of on an island about, but I still believe in the reasons why I do. I just might overdo it. So that's something I have to understand as well. But I also just can't help it. It's hard. But in terms of individuals, I think more than anything, I feel like when I have a gut feeling about something, just not feeling right, that everyone else seems to think, I should lean into it more. Like, for example, when I was watching Lafreniere, I had him ranked 1, but I think I was one of the only people there who was thinking, like, him and Byfield are not that separate, especially considering they're a year apart. I could see Byfield being more valuable than Lafreniere. And I didn't lean into that enough because Stützle, I remember, like, it's kind of the put yourself in a headspace where it's thinking, okay, what did I think watching these guys? Watching Lafreniere, did I feel joy? Did I finish a game going, oh my God, that kid is amazing? Some shifts, yes, but not really. Tim Stützle, Lucas Raymond, Marco Rossi, sometimes Quinton Byfield. Those guys brought joy. Those guys, I left those games going, oh my God, these guys are awesome. And so, but I kept Lafreniere at 1 because maybe there was something I'm missing. So over the years, I felt the same way about Shane Wright. And Shane Wright finished a game. I go, is this guy really the best player available? And then I'd watch a Logan Cooley game and I'd go, oh my God, this guy's amazing. So it's like that is the kind of lesson that I've kind of leaned into. And I think at the end of the day, I also have learned to like set aside what everybody else thinks, because the NHL draft in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, you sort by games played, you sort by point production, whatever. It is never 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It is far from that. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, those are like the lessons I've learned. I don't think there are like individual players that I can look to and go, boy, I really got that guy wrong. At least it's too early to say that, because I look at a lot of the players that I have really liked in the past and they've had a lot of success. And some of them it's like up to this season. So we'll see where it goes from here. But yes. What is Kyle Davidson doing? I mean, I'm not sure, honestly. Connor Bedard is, I mean, they have Nazer, sure. They've got Oliver Moore, but I don't know who that guy is going to be. The Blit and Bedard, right? The Blit and Bedard, Like, I look at this and I go, boy, Hagens, Demidov, Bedard. And you make it work. Hagens, Demidov, Bedard, and you just figure it out. Something will happen with that. But, we'll see. Bedard, Frondel, Levshinov, not bad players. But, I don't know. Just me. The Discord is for subscribers of the site. So if you go to scouching.ca/subscribe and sign up, any tier gets you access to the Discord server. So we have a server where we, I watch tape in there sometimes with people. We talk, we play board games, we do stuff. It's fun. And there's lots and lots going on in there. So if you want, you can check that out. It is crazy. Aiden Park was supposed to go 2nd overall in 2024 3 years ago. Yes, this is why you don't listen to the stuff. That's why you don't listen to these things. It is just people taking players who play in very, very bad hockey leagues that are far, 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 far from even the OHL and just sort by points and go, this guy must be good because he has 120 points playing with Cole Eiserman and this guy and this guy and this guy. It's why you don't like draft rankings at this point for next season, let alone 2027. There's no possible way. There is no possible way that is totally, above board. Like I'm not doing it. I'm not gonna lie to you and be like, I know here's my top 32 for 2026. Like I spent all my time watching 2024 or 2025 guys and the NHL this season. I'm not gonna tell you I know as much about next year's class to give you, blah. I'll tell you who I like right now and whatever, but don't take it as gospel, really. Thoughts on the Canes draft? We did that already. Parsons going undrafted. Was that the goalie? Yeah, no. Like twice re-entry. Oh, Jack Parsons. Is that the goalie for Chicago? I thought he might get a swing, honestly. I thought you were talking about a different Parsons for some reason. But yeah, Jack Parsons this year had a pretty good year, all things considered, and I thought someone would give him a swing, but I'd invite him to a camp and see what he can do. I don't see what Kyle Davidson's vision is for the roster. You and me both. I don't know. Why did Fiddler fall so much? I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. I mean, my thought is that the range from, in my view, like 5 or 6 to 30 was really close, and a few surprises here and there, and someone's got to go later. I don't know why he fell that much, but I like him. Do you think Maddox Labre could have gotten a flyer late? I was surprised he got taken. I didn't really see much in Labre, honestly, this season. I watched a couple of games. I heard some stuff about him, and I don't know. Again, it's like I honestly ask myself, who does this guy surpass on the list? You know, like when I look at my list, I go, okay, what I've seen of these guys, who does he surpass on the list, especially defensemen? And I couldn't make the argument for him over a guy like Aaron Dahlqvist or Anthony Alain-Samake. Why do teams draft for positional needs then with that analogy of not fixing current problem? I don't know. I mean, like, why do teams draft for positional needs if it's not, for not fixing current problems through the draft? I think it's just flawed logic. Like, am I wrong? Like, if I'm wrong, like, I would love to hear an explanation, but to me, it logically makes no sense to go, all right, the number of players who have hit the NHL literally right away and hit the ground running and been like solid and without issue and made our team immediately much, much better. Celebrini last year, maybe. Bedard, you could maybe make the argument, but those are special players. So pretty much everybody is drafting is at least a season or 2 or 3 away. So if you're drafting for need, it's not going to get fixed. So what's the point? Right? Like, just that's it. So if you do it to fix a positional need, it's just, to me, flawed logic. It's just it doesn't make sense to me. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm missing something, but the free agency is tomorrow. That's where you fix your problems. And to me, it's a lot easier to fix your problems if you're not constantly chasing your tail trying to fix problems on your roster 3 years down the road. You know, it's a lot easier to just take guys you like, deal with a log jam, and have pieces to work with if you wanted to land a big fish later on, rather than like, well, we drafted this guy because he's a right-hand shot defenseman and we needed one, but he's not working out, and 3 of the 10 guys drafted after him are third-line NHL forwards, just that they're wingers. So to me, I look at it and I go, I don't see that. I don't see that as a viable strategy the way that it's done. I don't think every team does it. I will say, though, there is, I think, a level of truth to not having too much of the same type of player, or not having too much of, like, you know, having, I mean, team scouting for me right now, 0 goalies. I mean, I probably would sign some, you know, try to just throw a few darts at the wall, but then they're just not that much of a priority, and I don't know enough about them. But it would be nice to have some sitting around, you know? So teams might logically think that that's true, right? Like, oh, all we've done is draft skilled wingers. So unless that skilled winger that we're looking at is like really, really, really good, maybe we prioritize other guys more. So that's my thought about it. But in terms of like, our NHL team needs this, so we should take a bunch of this, I think you're just asking for mistakes at that point. Which 2020 draft players would you like over Lafreniere as of today? I mean, I would say Rossi, Raymond, Stützle, Sanderson for sure. Arguably, I love Quinton Byfield. I think he is poised to finally have a really good year, like a really good productive offensive season, because every time I watch the LA Kings, that kid's a monster, and he's still pretty young. I think he's, 22? Yeah, he's turning 23 in August. Like, he's still a kid. I probably would have put Jarvis, I think, has an argument ahead of Lafreniere. Pretty clear argument. Then it kind of gets murky. Maybe Cole Perfetti. Maybe, but I think you could take it or leave it at that point. We'll see about Jamie Drysdale. That could be a fun one for Philadelphia down the road, but who knows? Bedard versus McKenna entering the draft. I mean, they're kind of two very different, interesting mirror versions of each other. One's a great shooter and one's a great playmaker. We'll see. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Marchand playing at 43 would be Mark Recchi, and yeah, Unk still got it. It's true. You were supposed to make me feel better. Well, look, I could be wrong. And we'll see in 2030. We'll see in 2030. The Hawks are 6 deep and legitimate top 4 defensemen. Then why did they do so badly? That said, I mean, Rinzel looked great. Whatever. What do you think about my thinking on the Zanon pick? I don't know. What was it? Oh, Zanon. I mean, yeah, I had Zanon super high. I love Bill Zanon. So, yeah, I mean, I think he went in a great spot. I would have drafted him sooner than that, honestly. For so many size queens at the GM table this year, why did Limitov fall to the early third round? I think it's his defensive game. He doesn't play it safe. That's the thing. You need to play it safe. Because Limitov does not do that. He is a little bit of a wild man. And, that's okay. Have I ever applied or have interest in scouting professionally? Oh, boy, have I ever. There are stories about that. I have assisted teams before, like as I guess you could call it a consultant. So I've helped in some spots here and there, but no job. I mean, I do talk to people in the NHL a lot. I say hi to them when I'm at the rinks and I'm around. It's just the problem is I'm very different. I do things in a way that I don't know how many people do it, right? I am, a little bit unique. And, in the sense of the way I do things and the way that I am comfortable doing my job, nobody else really does it this way. So it is a very different environment. I was speaking to a scouting director last summer and I basically laid it out to him. I was just like, why do you think I don't have a job? Don't kid gloves me. Just tell me. And he gave a great answer. He just said I think a lot of it comes down to how different you are. And it is really hard to convince my boss and the owner that we should totally open up a brand new style of department for something that is important, which is getting talent in the draft for the future. It's an important part of the business, bringing guys in. So he looked at me and just was saying, the way that it's done is not the way you do it. And he goes, there also might be a certain level of resentment because you get to stay at home all the time. And you think that with video, you have advantages. And people are on the road. They're away from their houses. They go to 150 games a year. They are on the road all the time. They're doing everything. And it's a hard life and they hate it and they make no money, but they do it because they love it. And you get to sit at home and watch video and compile data all day. And so it's really hard to put you in a room with those people. It's really hard to make that equal and make that fair, so to speak. And it would be a completely different way of doing things, which is really hard to convince a person to do. A person with a lot of money and interested in making more money. And so for me, I mean, I have been asked by people in the past, someone who is now an NHL GM, I thought I was walking into an informational phone call with them, and they right away were like, why would anyone hire you? Just explain to me, why would anyone hire you? And that's not what I expected at all. They just put me on my back foot minute one of a phone call, and I was flustered, and I just didn't know what to say. But now I have a good answer, right? Now I have an answer where it's I believe really strongly in active learning. I think that by forcing yourself to sit at a desk and watch this stuff and gather information from what you're seeing, you register it way better in your brain. It gets into your brain way, 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 way better than just passively watching and taking notes, right? That's my opinion. You see the data being created and there's value in that. It's nice to have databases and it's nice to have people who interpret it, but having the mix of people who create it and understand it, and they're the same people, I think is more valuable, even if it's a little more work intensive and more tedious. I personally, that's just how I feel. I'm obviously biased, but that's just how I am. And I think that there's value to that. So yeah, I've done a little bit of work here and there for teams, but nothing like insane and nothing super concrete and formal, but here and there. Would you have traded Zegras for a second and a fourth? No. I know they got Nilsson for that pick, but yeah, I love Eric Nilsson, but I feel like you gotta find a way to make it work with Trevor Zegras, and so hopefully the Flyers do that. What do we think about Riker Lee? I love him. Super high skill, high fun factor. Similar thoughts to like a Zhuravsky, but he played in a much more difficult level of play. Just some of the most creative offensive tools that isn't at the top end of the draft, and so you're betting on offense and fun and skill, and I think it's fair. And that range, I get it. He was around that range for me. Yes, I agree on Zanon. Higher floor, lower ceiling. That's what NHL teams told me too. They go, yeah, I see why you have him so high, but like the upside is so limited with him. And I go, maybe, but what if? you can say what if about whoever you want, but I get to say what if about Billy Z. That guy I think is going to make himself very valuable to Pittsburgh. The Bill James of hockey scouting. Oh no. Someone the other day did call me Galileo, and I didn't like that. I was like, it's too much. Don't put me in the same realm as one of the most famous and persecuted scientists of all time. I am not him. That's not me. No, that's not me. I'm more the crazy guy by the dumpster behind a Wendy's, rambling on about, I shouldn't say what I was about to say. It would be, I don't know. But anyway. Do you think the way it's done now is too old school? I just think it's very inefficient. Look, the way I've said this before, the way that it would work for me if I were king of the world is I would have 5 clones of me just grinding video all day. That's their job. Add to the database, make notes on players. Let's build a comprehensive sort of war chest of information about these guys. Then I would have a person in a region, one per region, and just go around. You can identify players as well, but we will also sort of direct things. And your job is intelligence gathering. What are they like? What do their coaches say about them? What do the parents say about them? What do their teammates say about them? Go and ask questions. Just poke around. See what's there. And that can sort of augment the other stuff that we're seeing. And you get to see them play, so that's a plus. But I would have that as a much smaller part of the job, but it would work in conjunction. Like, that's how I would build it, right? It would be fewer people on the road, more people in-house. It would be less expensive for travel and food and all that stuff. And I feel like you would probably get the job done just as well. The intelligence gathering part of it, I think, is what's really valuable for those types of people. And I would honestly use the money I saved to pay them more, because they are doing a pretty hard job. Like, it is a pretty crummy job. So I honestly feel like that's the case. If you were hired, would you not be willing to go on the road and scout in person? I mean, if I had to, I would do it. I have done it. I have gone to games. I was there many times this year in the region. But number one, I always come home and go, I barely remember a whole lot of what happened in that game. I don't know how anybody honestly can go, well, here's the player I really loved, and here was exactly why. The game just goes by too fast for that for me. I just go, I mean, I see players that I think are playing well, fair enough, but then I kind of sit back and I go, but like, I need to see things again. Like, I see a thing, but like when I was in PEI, the number of times I was sitting in my seat and just going, boy, I wish I could have seen that play again. I wish I looked at my notes for 4 seconds to write something down. Someone scores a goal, and I think I know who was on the ice, and it was a really nice pass, but I didn't catch the jersey number of the kid who sent it, and I don't and I don't want to guess, right? So if I could rewind it and rewatch the whole thing and how it developed, then I have a much better understanding of what happened. So to me, there's a lot of advantages in that I think pretty heavily outweigh the boots on the ground style, right? Yes, there are things that you might not see on a video camera, of course, right? I wouldn't abandon it altogether. But for me, it's like you're not using my skills to your advantage, right? You're taking me and putting me in a job that I will do. I would do it. But I don't think you're going to get the best version of me, right? Like, you just have to be honest. Like, I just don't think it's going to be the best version of me. What was your favorite pick of the draft? Ben Kindle at 11. Just, it was so sick and so much fun, and I love Ben Kindle so much. I was unexpected, but also sort of expected, you know? And Penguins fans, I said it earlier, get used to it. Riker Lee has Ehlers' pre-draft vision and creativity. I mean, I could see that. I mean, it's not bad. It's very, very good. What did I think about the Sens? We talked about that already. They were pretty good, though. You'll see more in the recap video eventually when we get to it. I'm also trying to race through this because my voice is starting to give out here, and I've done a lot of talking over the last 5 days, and we're coming back tomorrow morning. I feel like you're right about Zanon. Well, then you're all right in my books, because I will. If it makes me look smart, it's right. I know people made a big deal about his skating, but I don't see it personally. He's not an insane skater, and he's not a hindrance. One of the fastest guys blue line to blue line that I tracked this year. So he might not be the prettiest looking skater, but he gets around. So imagine that gets better, right? It's like, that's the thing that I always try to stress is if you go, this kid is great and the results are great, but this, it's like, okay, work on it. What if it gets better? He's already here. So what happens if he gets, if he's here, don't worry about him ending up here. If he's here and there's something preventing him from going up, what if he does this, right? That's my argument around that kind of thing. Who do you see what do you think the absolute top production best case scenario is for Ben Kindle? Second line playmaker who is on the power play and just shipping pucks to everybody. Like, I don't know, point production, it depends on who he's playing with, but on your second line as an offensive producing guy, I could see him as a center. Second, third line center, really good. I think some players need to be seen in person to really appreciate what they bring to the game. Oliver Moore is a great example. I had Oliver Moore at 4. I had Oliver Moore higher than Will Smith. I didn't see him in person one time. And also, like, in my lifestyle right now, I can't afford to just get on a plane and go see Oliver Moore. So if I want to do this, I have to do it in a way that I can pay my bills. So I'm kind of limited, but I had Oliver Moore at 4. Like, I didn't see him personally, and I loved the hell out of him. And yes, I think Zanon is a middle 6, but probably third line, sure. Is this pretty much the same method for all NHL teams, amateur scouts? How differently do they tend to use analytics? It depends. Like, I met with someone who worked for one team, and they were kind enough to share a little bit of information about this, but it's like they're separate but equal. Not the best choice of words, but they are, like, they have their analytics team and their scouts. And they work with each other to come to an agreement and this, right? Fair enough, right? There isn't a whole lot of integrated stuff. There are some, but there are a lot of people who are more like they study the history and the trends in the draft and try to guide the team and going, maybe we should focus more on these players because statistically this. Or there was a great interview on the LA Kings YouTube channel with Mark Yannetti, and he mentions a couple of people who I actually know who work in the analytics department for LA. And he was basically saying that they run a lot of simulations, they dump a lot of data into a simulation tool. So they kind of know, okay, we have these picks. These are the guys that might be available here. So they go, okay, we think we can trade down and get a guy that's higher on our board and take advantage of that. And so they know that's the kind of way it's incorporated right now. I know another guy who basically explained to me, like, he's the spreadsheet guy. He just makes sure everybody knows how to copy paste. So that's also a thing that people can do. But otherwise, I mean, in terms of actually integrating it all together, I spoke to an analytics director also last summer about this kind of thing. And he basically said that, again, I'm asking for something that doesn't exist. Like, it's the integration of it all is still like, they'll go to Sport Logic and they'll look up the data and look for what's there, but they're not analysts. They're not data scientists, right? So there's that. Who's the better skater, Oliver Moore or Jack Hughes? Jack Hughes. Yes, he's a better skater than Oliver Moore. Best case for Ekblad, I think a really good second line winger, energetic, scores some goals. Probably not the most productive guy. I think he might be more of a 40, 50 point dude, 20 goals, 20 assists type, 25, 20 goals, or 25 goals, 20 assists type players. Productive, but more valuable just for his overall impact on the game, and just you can't really fault him on any given shift that he plays. That's kind of the style of player I like. Probably been asked 100 times, so I'm going to ask, how do you feel about the Canucks? We have talked about them a couple of times. I thought the Canucks did pretty well. They added Matthew Lansing late is really good. I like Matthew Lansing quite a bit as a curiosity. There's some good stuff. I like him. Will is Batman. I assure you I am not Batman. I don't have the billions of dollars necessary. Is there another... Oh, yes, we are almost at 10,000 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, you probably should. We are almost at 10,000, and that would be a great off-season. We probably will hit it in the off-season because people really seem to like the recap videos. Even if they don't like them, they watch a lot of it and talk a lot about them. So they're coming. Is there another highly drafted player like O'Brien who in their draft year had 60% of their assists on the power play, 50% of their total points on the power play, and NHL success? That was a big thing with me with O'Brien, but I kind of set it aside and I go, with O'Brien, I think he does things that are hard to accomplish in the NHL well, really well. Again, the chaos of the game is where he thrives. I would not have drafted him in the top 10. I had him in the top 15, though. So we'll see. But he is a very good centralized playmaker. He's got some size that he can develop into. I see the argument for him there. And he's got lots of time in Seattle. I don't think he's going to be under any pressure to jump into the NHL anytime soon. Thoughts on Jurovsky? He's really fun, really skilled, really high upside, just unproven against really good competition. That's all. Who is Jacob Rombach? Jacob Rombach is a tree in the forest in California. It is one of the tallest tree species on the planet, and you can't wrap your arms around it. Certainly too big for that. I don't know. Rombach is solid. He's a big, solid, safe, decently skating big boy who's pretty filled out and solid. Yes, and also buy our merch. Wes Clark is more analytics. Trent Mann, from what I know, is more boots on the ground. I think Mann is decently high up in Penn scouting. I mean, yes. I don't know if I would categorize Wes Clark as like pro analytics, because the guys that they draft over the years that I have data on are not spectacular in that regard. But I do think that what Wes Clark really values is the creative ones, the ones who really understand the game. That's why I thought a guy like Ben Kindle and Lyndon Lakovich would go to Pittsburgh this year, because I watched them play so much this year and I go, these kids are just a step ahead of everybody else. And I thought the same thing about Easton Cowan when he was that age. I didn't think he was big enough and fast enough and skilled enough to play that style in the NHL, and we'll see what happens. But clearly Wes Clark is a believer in guys who see the ice really well, who work with line mates really well, guys who kind of have that like video game bird's eye view of the game. And I know for a fact that the Toronto Maple Leafs, when he was there, really valued that sort of evaluation off the ice. So they talk to them about how hockey works and the mechanics of the game, and they really want guys who understand that really fundamentally, and then the rest they kind of develop into their game. Is there a more iconic duo than Seattle in drafting a defenseman? Probably not, actually. What has led this to being a weaker draft? Was it top-end talent? It seems like the top 40 had a lot of unique potential impact players. Well, I don't like categorizing drafts as weak. But this draft did drop off quite a bit really fast. Like, I don't think there's a whole lot of guys that will play top 6 minutes up front or top pair defensemen in this year's draft. I don't even know how many top 4 defensemen there are in this draft. Like guys who play really important roles on your second line. Like, there will be good, probably solid second line defensemen that come out of this draft. But I see a lot of bottom 6, maybe middle 6 forwards in this class. And so it goes like really solid, really, really high-end players at the top, and then very, very quickly, to me, opened up to high-end potential, but some risk in those guys like Hagens and Ekblad and Potter and Martone for me. But then it just like guys who do some stuff really well that could work, you know, physical, third line, good passing guys, all that kind of stuff. Did you like the Flyers draft other than the Nesbitt pick? I mean, yeah, kind of. I mean, to me, the Nesbitt pick is a huge reach. I didn't even have him ranked, but I suppose I understand why. But overall, I would have done things differently if I were the Flyers. But the guys they got, I think, fit what they're trying to do really well, and they're good players. Fun fact, my sister had Trent Mann as her high school teacher. Nice. Do you buy the Ryan Rubrick hype? Where would he have gone if he were eligible? I honestly haven't seen enough of Rubrick to give you a really good answer, but I thought he was good at the under-18s. I don't know. I don't think he would be one of the first guys off the board, though. Like, I'd have a hard time drafting him ahead of, like, a Victor Ekblad. But first-round pick, yeah. And, like, would I have taken him over a Nestrasil, Horov, you know? Yeah, probably. We'll see. I have all the time in the world for Rubrick to really blow me away next year. I haven't really had the time to really dig into them. All right, I am going to call it on that, by the way. It's almost been 3 hours, which is, I guess, solid for an NHL draft recap, but a little late for me. So thank you very much for joining me. Again, if you are interested in a subscription, tonight is the last chance to do it. We got a promo code over on Scouching.ca that you can see if you go over to the website. If you want a discount on your first payment, you'll get that with the discount code, so you can check that out. If you really liked it, definitely subscribe to the channel. We want to get to 10,000. It would be really, really nice if we could do that, and it would be a huge milestone, and we'll go from there. Thanks very much for watching again, also, throughout the entire season. I hope to see you. We'll do a live show tomorrow for the free agent frenzy thing, but I think that would be the last one of the year, and we'll come back at the beginning of next season around training camp time, maybe a little later, and we'll see you then. I mean, and so in the meantime, there will be lots on the channel. We're going to do the recaps. We're going to do all kinds of stuff. Tomorrow, there is going to be a free agent frenzy video, but also highlights from the stream that we did over the week, the stream Z. And what else is going on? We'll do the pipeline videos as well towards probably August into September. And that should tide you over until next season. So again, until then, thanks very much for watching. This was really, really fun. Again, check out Scouching.ca. That discount code also expires tonight. So tomorrow morning, it's gone. So check it out. And yeah. So I don't want to leave without making sure I've got everything out of my system here. I think it's time because I'm tired and I'm not thinking straight. But thank you very much for joining me. This whole season has been great. We'll have some fun tomorrow. Watch some deals roll in. I'm going to go. And thanks again for joining me. This was a lot of fun. We'll see you in the next one.